is Smoking Tire Podcast. We back. I have been on the road, not even thinking about work for 14 days, and I have to be honest with you, it was fucking delightful. Absolutely delightful. I don't feel a hint of guilt about it. It was great. Luxury vacation across Europe, adventure drives, and back to work now. So we got a double header podcast coming to you today. We are going to start with an interesting discussion, hopefully, about radar detectors with Arlei Bravy of VortexRadar. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Bienvenue.
Yeah, thank you. Well, willkommen. Welcome back.
Willkommen from Oktoberfest. Are you German?
I'm Chaman. I'm Mr. Chaman.
Are you German?
No, I took German in high school.
So you brought it with you.
I know a little bit. Ich habe alle mein Deutsch vergessen.
You would have done well in Oktoberfest.
Make sure I can say that.
Oktoberfest is where all of that comes in very, very handy.
I believe it.
Although, frankly, beer is beer in both languages.
Were you in Munich or?
Yeah.
That's the place to be.
Dude, Oktoberfest is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy. We can talk about it later. Let's get into radar detectors first.
Sure.
So you're a radar detector enthusiast. So are you a scientist? Are you a tester?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's kind of fun. Everybody, they try to say, are you an expert? Are you a tester, scientist, all that kind of stuff. I just love them. My background?
Enthusiast. Radar detector enthusiast.
I love testing them, learning all about them, all the little nuances and details, figuring out how they work, what has the best performance, and just learning everything I possibly can about them. That's fun, and then just turning around and sharing everything.
What starts someone down a road of radar detector enthusiasm?
It's fun. I don't know. I love knowing what's going on around me. And
okay,
that's a ton of fun.
A love of spatial awareness.
Yeah, exactly, which is fun. My background is engineering.
Okay.
So RF, radio, all that kind of stuff makes sense to me. And radar is just kind of a way to make that kind of tangible and useful in a way and really apply it.
And money saving.
Exactly, which is great. It's great.
License saving.
I'd rather put the money under detectors than into tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So was it you see the cannonball run and hear the word fuzzbuster and you go, I need to know about this.
It actually wasn't. I got into that afterwards. For me, it was just I want to feel comfortable when I'm driving. I love driving. I love road trips and not having to worry about tickets or what's going on. And so just to know what's going on around me is really enjoyable. And then I just got more peace of mind with the detectors or laser jammers or whatever.
Yeah, well, as a road trip enthusiast and veteran myself, there are how many times? The number of times I've been saved by. For me, I'll no money exchanged. I will plug the Valentine 1. I'm a Valentine 1 loyalist.
Yep.
Although I hear that the patent on the arrows expired, and now everyone's in the arrow game.
Yeah, the Max 360 has arrows. Yeah. There's a lot of remotes that do arrows, and it's awesome.
Back it up. Let's. I want to talk about the arrows. We'll get to that, but let's. I'm gonna let you tell the story of radar detectors, and you guide this one because
Sure.
I don't even know necessarily what to ask you.
Yeah.
I have one. I know it was expensive compared to the rest of the ones in the market. I know it works, but let's go back. Mike Valentine. Maybe we can go back to that stuff and tell me about radar detectors.
Radar detectors in a nutshell. Yeah, they came out 20, 30 years ago. Cops started coming out with these huge radar guns just to clock people, give them speeding tickets, try to slow them down, and it slowly evolved the cat and mouse game between.
What was the original radar detector? Do you know?
The Escort, Passport. I only got into this 6 years ago.
So can you buy vintage ones and test? That should be a good special.
I would
co-fund that with you.
That would be, I've got some old Cobra trap shooters, the old Escort Passport, the old detectors. I've got some of the old radar guns with the massive antennas too.
Were the old radar guns with massive antennas more powerful, or were they just less efficient?
They were kind of both. They just huge output powers and very limited functionality, so they didn't have the ability to
like that. That's our OG.
Just the old. Look at that, no digital display, just boop. Light up light on the front.
That's great.
There's nothing. Super simple. There you go. I think it was X-band and K-band only.
Is that early 80s?
That
looks
80s.
Like late 70s.
I never even
80s
used that one. The old original Escort. Escort loves to plug it in their museum. But yeah, that's the old original Escort.
Well, didn't Mike Valentine work at Escort and design the original and design that or something like it?
Yeah, he actually used to work. Both the companies, Mike Valentine's company and Escort, are in Cincinnati. So they were in Ohio working, and then Mike eventually split off and started his own company, the Valentine 1.
Valentine 1?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that. I remember this one. Yeah, this is the classic. Oh, Timmy, wrong button. But the one that where he just tried to pull up. I don't know who makes this one.
Yeah, that's I think the original Passport. That's also
the
an
original
Escort.
Passport. All right. Well, we don't have to worry about the picture. If he gets it, he gets it. But that one is to me the most classic original one with the series of red lights. That's it, but it's turned off in that picture, so you don't get the same effect as with the lights turned on. But yeah.
Yeah, and you get the ramp meter, so it tells you how strong the signal is visually. And
So the early ones were pretty much just radar, no radar.
pretty much, and there weren't really any sources of false alerts to deal with as much. Like now,
Were those did they have all 3 bands at that point?
no, they started off with X band, so huge antennas, and then they started moving to like smaller antennas, take up less space on the dashboard, so they switched to K band.
Okay, so now we have 3 bands, X, K, and KA.
We do.
So if you have any radar detector that's worth its ass, it's going to detect all 3 of these.
Yeah, and everything nowadays will be able
We'll
to
do
that.
all 3. And in fact, I can talk about it with the Valentine one. Sometimes you want to filter out a lot of that.
Yeah.
But can you give me a rundown of the differences in the 3 bands?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just different frequencies, kind of like if you've got your radio and you're changing to different stations, they're just different frequencies.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of the same idea. They're different frequencies, so different wavelengths. X band is like 10 gigahertz, K band is 24, Ka is like 33 to 36 gigahertz.
So it's just letter representing number of hertz.
Different
That's it.
frequencies, and
Okay.
that's good information because you can kind of tell if it's real or if it's false a lot of times. Based
Well,
on that.
for sure. I mean, I don't know about where everyone necessarily who would listen to this lives, but like here in LA as well as most metropolitan areas. So for me, one of the best things about the Valentine 1 radar detector is you can deactivate those bands individually.
That's awesome.
And it's like you don't have to plug the thing into a computer. You don't have to do it over Bluetooth even. Like it's got one knob and you can
Yep.
do it on the knob. And like if you just go on the website, you can do it in 8 seconds if you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Know what you're doing implies there's skill. If you read the stupid procedure, which you can do it. Yeah, there's the headline image.
Oh, yeah. That's my
it.
YouTube
Just
video
pull
on how
that
to
up.
program
So-
it. Yeah.
So Valentine 1, which we can go right to the Valentine 1, and then you can tell me about all the other radar detectors.
Sure.
To me, this is the seminal radar detector. This
It's
is the one
awesome.
where if you want the solid, it's the Corvette Z06 of radar detectors, if you will. Reliable, dependable.
It is.
Maybe a little low tech, but the arrows. This was the first and only one to show you the direction of your assailant. What word do we
We
use?
can call it maybe
Bogeys?
location of the threat.
The threat?
if you will.
Yeah,
Where is
yeah.
the radar source located?
Yeah. So I love the V1 because it's got a great range and the arrows. If you've got a weak signal behind, that's not a stand on the brake. It speaks a language to you.
It does. Like when you can understand the V1 and what it's saying based on the strength of the signal, the arrows, like when you can speak the V1, it's better than anything else out there.
Yeah. And for how many, almost 20 years, maybe even more than 20
25
years,
years,
they
something like
had
that.
the only arrows. That was it.
Yeah.
And so for me, and you can manually, in LA or for me, I use it all over the country, but I deactivate the X and the K bands. Here in a metro area, X band is primarily like automatic door openers.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
There's a ton of them. I've had X band off for so long, like I don't even remember what uses it anymore. I think it's auto door openers and whatnot. Like it's Ohio and New Jersey are like the only places left that actively use it.
Do they actually actively use X band?
They do.
Still?
There's still a couple places in the country or like around the country that use it, but
I'll roll the dice and leave it off.
it's not used in California. It's not in use at all, so you're fine.
No, yeah, and then K band is actually mostly radar cruise control. A lot of cars here in metro areas, LA and all over the country, are using radar cruise control and or passive safety systems, whatever.
Yeah.
And oh my God, does it drive K band
That's
nuts?
so that's actually going to be changing. I think in 2020 or 2022, they're actually the FCC is going to be moving away from K band for all the blind spot radar and everything.
Oh, is that going to be great for us or
it's-
bad for us?
It's going to be amazing for us because they're going to be switching to like ultrasonic 67 gigahertz or so, which means it's no longer going to be triggering our radar detectors. So for people who have to use K-band because it's in use, we're not going to be dealing with as many of the false alerts that we have today.
I'm pretty sure you must be familiar with Alex Roy, my good friend and another radar detector enthusiast, and he had a revelation related to what you just said. Independent of it, I must give him credit. Independent, he found out without reading into it that like whatever frequency they're using for like K band is like the same thing for autonomous. Like he's like, oh my God, this is going to be a huge problem. And then read later like, oh good, someone thought of a solution.
I know. It's like I wish if I worked for a car manufacturer, I'd be like, don't use K band for all your radar. Use something else. Like seriously.
But I can disable it in here in Los Angeles, and here actually in this city, and it's different for whatever city you live in. But here in LA, the only place you find cops actually doing real highway patrol kind of work is right on the border of the city and the desert, right where the city ends. Like in the city, there's just so many cars, like you can't speed.
I was wondering about that. I've seen one alert the whole time I've been here.
There's no cops like in the city, and in fact, nice. I turn my V1 off a lot if I'm just in the city. I'm going 12. There's no, and the cops that are around, I have seen people in this town pull some crazy shit in front of cops, and the cops couldn't be bothered to give a fuck.
I've been wondering about that. You see so much. I'm like, record on my dash cam, like save
wild
this clip.
Shit in this town.
Yeah,
every town has their own version of bad driving. You know, what is your where are you from?
Seattle.
Okay, what in Seattle? What is your town? Is it stoned? Is that is that what they do? Or?
Probably like the worst thing in Seattle would be like left lane hogs with the Prius.
Okay.
Yeah, who'd do like speed limit or under in the left lane, and like you're supposed to move over to the right. I've seen people get pulled over for it, but they never do. So you're always having to pass on the right.
That's why driving in Germany is so lovely.
That would be amazing. Like people actually follow the rules of the road.
Civilized.
And
you hate to from a Jew, you hate to say, oh, Germany, it's so civilized. But when it comes to the motoring, yes. Here in LA, it's not paying attention, texting while driving. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's like almost everywhere though.
Yeah. So what you get here is you really get the speed enforcement is right at the edge of the city where the city meets desert. Because outside the city limits, it's 90. And no one really gives a fuck because you're in the middle of the desert.
That's cool.
But right on that edge, there's a few spots where it's like you don't even want to go near them without everything on.
Yeah.
But then we have, the CHP motorcycle guys.
Yeah.
Which are, if you ever pull up on YouTube, some of the videos that those guys are doing is ridiculous. Their skill. And they have great hiding spots, and they all shoot laser. So if they're going to get you, they're going to get you. And there's no hiding.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you could talk about laser jammers if you like.
Laser jammers, yeah. Around here, I believe the cops use LTI guns. Easy to jam.
Easy to jam.
They are pretty easy to jam. Yeah, it's the main thing is like making sure you get a good set of jammers and you have them installed properly.
Yeah.
If they're installed incorrectly, they won't work right. So
what's like low in the nose?
Either
kind of
like
thing?
If they're installed super low, or one of the common ones is if you install them behind a grill. The grill will actually physically prevent them from either seeing the laser or being able to transmit it back out. And people are like, "Hey, I want it hidden for aesthetic purposes," but it doesn't work. So that's one of the most common things I see. But if it's installed properly, when the cop shoots you with laser, the alarms will go off in your car. Your jammer starts shooting back at him and prevent a speed rating from showing up on his gun.
But then you slow down.
Yes.
Yeah.
You slow down and turn him off, ideally within like 2 to 3 seconds or so.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, you're doing speed limit, whatever, next car."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're very effective. Unfortunately, I jump cars a lot. For me, it's not feasible. But if you've got one car or even a sports car that is your go-to a lot, Alex swears by them.
Yeah, they're great.
I mean, people who use them, my friend Nick, he absolutely swears by them. What's the one to have right now?
The anti-laser priority is like the jammer, the most effective.
Pull that one up to me. What's it called? Anti-laser priority?
Anti-laser priority. That's the best jammer, most effective, jams all the guns out there. There's a couple.
What does that
there.
go for?
It starts at about $750 or so for 2 heads on the front. And then if you want additional heads, or you also want protection on the rear or Bluetooth integration, there's different things you can add in.
People are doing a good job of hiding them. There's shockingly few pictures of this fucking thing on the internet. Is that it there with the white box and the 4 dealies?
Yeah, you can see them over on the right,
on
like
the
white
there?
box. So that's the control unit plus one of the heads that would be installed in your grill.
One of them heads installed in your grill.
Maybe 2 inches wide or so.
Yeah, and there's still no such thing as a portable one, right? Because laser's so precise. It's like your windshield is like too far away.
Yeah,
right.
You can't put them up on the windshield. They won't. Yeah, laser's such a pinpoint thing.
Just pull that up that janky.
Yeah, so that's actually from testing purposes.
So
you'll probably actually see that wasn't me. I know those guys, but you'll probably see a couple different jammers installed. So. Like, we actually do testing events to figure out what's the most effective, all that kind of stuff. And that's, from testing.
That's a good point. That's either janky as fuck or he's a scientist.
Yeah, and I recognize the car. Okay, so that's the thing where
install.
Behind the grill, that's super common. So that looks like it's going to work well.
M4.
That will cut down, range about 50% if you put it behind a grill like that. Yeah.
Okay, what's the effective range without that?
It depends on terrain settings, all that kind of stuff.
Let's assume clear day and it's flat.
Ideally, you're out in the desert going to Vegas or something. You can easily get 10 miles plus.
Of laser?
Of radar.
Oh,
so
that's
was that
a
radar
detector?
detector. That's a radar detector.
Yeah. I once got in the middle of Nevada, got 11 miles out of a V1.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
It's amazing.
This is a great story because the audience knows it. It's famous from a video. I got 11 miles worth of Valentine 1, progressively increasing until I saw the guy.
Yep.
I set the cruise control at 1 over, passed him, and was pulled over and ticketed for 1 over.
No.
Yeah, and he pulled me over in a parking lot, and I then got a flat tire in that parking lot, which exploded halfway into Vegas, and I had to be towed all the way into Vegas. Yeah.
See, this is the thing. It's like, okay, is that for safety? 1 over?
Well,
or
in fairness,
what's up with that? Oh, is there more to the story?
It was on Bull Run. So the car.
Oh.
No, but
okay.
listen. Driving while stickered is not a crime.
No, that's
son.
not illegal.
66 and a 6, and I went back and fought it, and the judge looked at it, looked up, and said, "Really? 1?" And I said, "Yes, Your Honor." And he tore it up and said, "Have a nice day."
Good.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Well, I had to drive back to fucking Vegas.
That's
though.
a pain to have to just deal with a 1 mile and over ticket.
Yeah, it was a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
The cop who pulled me over fully won.
Yeah.
He won that one. He he metaphorically beat the shit out of me on the side of the road and fucked my day up.
So his radar gun is actually only accurate to plus or minus 1 mile an hour. So you could, in theory, be doing exactly the speed limit.
Listen,
and is like
a judge is accurate to about 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's just one of those. You got stickers ticket. Like that's
a judge will look at that and go, "Wow, this cop is a piece of shit."
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you want to argue the technical side or the human side, and yeah.
In the middle of the desert. I mean,
like that's stupid. There's nobody around. There's
crazy.
nothing.
Have you ever gotten a ridiculous one like that, like a 1 over?
No, luckily no. I have friends that have done that.
Yeah.
And they've sent me the pictures of like, oh, here's what the fine is for 1 over. He got ticketed for 1 over. And I'm like, what is that?
You should offer some sort of a prize or giveaway for closest to 0 over.
Like, what's the most ridiculous, absurd ticket that you've gotten?
Well, the most ridiculous I've ever seen. I mean, suppose it was sort of fair. I don't even think he'll have a problem me telling you. My friend Seth Rose, and it was a bull run guy. He's a road rally guy, and he was always one of those guys that was up at the front. I was never one of them. You have to be a certain type to be that. And as I was doing this when I considered myself a child when I was now as an adult. It's all dumb, but this guy was always at the front. He got a Reckless. In a Nissan GTR in Telluride, Colorado, which was a 30 miles an hour in a 10, which was a fucking Reckless.
They gave him a Reckless for that?
For going 30.
Well, it's triple the speed limit.
It was triple. Yeah, no, that was the
issue?
The issue was that it was triple the speed limit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Fucking hysterical.
Wow.
Absolutely hysterical.
Reckless for 20 over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's somewhere Virginia. I think
Virginia's
if you're
like
20 over,
one.
it's a Reckless. Yeah. I got a 60.
I forget the exact number, but they're like really tough on that.
I got a 66 and a 60 in Virginia, and it was a court appearance.
Really, for 6 over?
It was brutal. And I was living. I didn't live there, bro. I lived in Philly. I had to go away.
Wait, he didn't cut you any slack for being out of state
Virginia,
or anything?
No,
not at all.
No, and I was warned too. I was warned that road was bad, and you get warned, and then.
You're like, maybe they won't be out. We'll see.
Maybe 6 over won't be a big deal.
No, I think usually the threshold's about 10.
No, there's a place in South Carolina called the Bluffton Speed Trap. It's one of them famous places where the 2 cops generate 80% of the town's fucking revenue, sort of thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to use the C word, but and they got me once on a 57 and a 55.
Was it
legit in a fucking champagne RX 300? Like what is the lamest car?
You get all these stupid tickets. Like, I do. That's not even speeding.
I have an image of getting doing these crazy things. My real tickets are for nothing. They're 80% of the tickets I've ever gotten in my life have been for less than 10 over.
It's
crazy.
I would not have guessed that.
No. It's revenue generation. I'm not like doing anything unsafe. And I've had cops say some crazy shit to me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, people ask, "Oh, why do you need a radar detector? Are you speeding? Are you breaking the law?" And it's like, no, it's for this stupid stuff to just avoid having to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It's not for people like, it's going to help if you want to speed like crazy. obviously, but it like, applies to so many people who just drive normally.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you live and where you drive, like you could have some truly either vindictive police.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to be fair. In California, I deal with a lot of sheriffs and a lot of CHP, both in that I just see them out and about and talk to them. I deal with them as they're at work in my neighborhood or whatever. I see them on the side of the road and they recognize me and come say hi. And we hire them for television to close roads for us.
Right. Yeah.
They've all been great. I've been ticketed in California, but I've only ever had one interaction with a cop where I was not. You get me. I'm not gonna be a dick about it.
Sure.
You got me. But don't like yelling and screaming at me like oh my God, like I personally insulted you by going 7 over.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the case with the majority of the cops. Is most of them are awesome, like good people.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of with anything. You have a couple bad eggs who make the news or whatever. But the majority of them are awesome. Like people think, oh, you're radar detectors, you're anti-cops or something. Like, and it's not. That's not really what it's about. At least for me. Like, I don't have an issue with cops. I'm glad they're out there helping keep us safe and all that stuff. But I don't want stupid tickets for things that are supposedly for safety and aren't.
Yeah, I agree. And do you find that cops are anti-radar detector? I don't really think they are.
Some have an issue with it. Some are more willing to give you a ticket if they see a detector because they're like, oh, I'm not going to give you a warning. And they point to your detector and like, that's your warning.
Oh, motherfucker. I haven't had a warning since I was 17 years old. I don't know what a warning is. I assume I'm getting a ticket. You know what I mean? I assume I assume it is. And, for me, a radar detector is the first line of defense and often the only one I need.
Yeah.
My second line of defense is my attorney, bro. I don't argue. I don't say shit.
Just let them take care of it.
I take the ticket and call my lawyer.
Yeah.
And consequently, I now, for the first time in ever, have a 100% clean license.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I know a lot of people that do that
15 fucking years.
They're like, why do I want a detector? I get all these false alerts. If anything happens, I'll just call my lawyer. Like, that's another strategy, too.
It is a good strategy. Lawyer's a lot more expensive than the radar detector.
Yeah. So, pros and cons to everything.
It works. But if you need to drive for a living, for me, or if more importantly, if you have multiple cars, holy shit, if you are a collector of cars and you have 4 or 5 cars or a family policy or whatever, you start getting points in your license. Holy hell, does your insurance go crazy?
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
So,
Can you still get away with points if you get a ticket out of state? Or have they fixed that?
do you know, are you versed in reciprocity?
Some states have reciprocity, some don't, so it depends.
Yeah, so
there's
reciprocity
still some holes.
Well, reciprocity is a real thing. In a lot of states are reciprocity states, meaning wherever else you get a ticket, it transfers, California included. There are a few states that are no reciprocity states, and if you have a license from one of them, you are golden. For instance, I know New York and North Carolina are both no reciprocity states. Do you know of any other ones?
I haven't really paid attention to the reciprocity states too much.
So New York is the golden license. Not only can you be like, yo, I'm from New York, also anywhere other than New York, points don't transfer.
That's really nice.
So you can rack up tickets anywhere you like and just pay the fine and you're golden, and that's it.
That's cool.
North Carolina is another one. Yeah, it's but if you live in California legally, like you need a California license. They won't let you. Like the other states don't even give a shit where your license is from. In California, they make a very big deal of it because they broke.
That's like people trying to get a business in Delaware or Las Vegas or whatever for
the
tax
Smoking Tire
purposes.
LLC is a Delaware corporation doing business in California.
There you go. Yeah.
Legal. It's legal.
It's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike the out-of-state car registrations are a big no-no here as well.
Yeah.
For tax, evasion and as well as smog.
That makes sense. Yeah, the smog's a big one out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to get smog done. It's annoying, but whatever. It's not that bad unless you have a hot rod with no cats. I don't know anybody like that. Let's talk more about radar detectors. So,
sure, yeah.
What is the new shit now that the arrows are no longer the thing? What's the new deal?
So the arrows are cool, but now a lot of detectors are moving to digital.
What does that even mean?
So basically, the way they're doing their analysis under the hood, they're able to scan a lot faster. They can do some more sophisticated signal processing to filter out a lot of the annoying false alerts.
Okay.
So basically, you're just getting better performance and better filtering because the computers are now better under the hood.
So
It's
you don't
basically
have
what
to
it
do
boils
the deactivate X and K because it just filters it on its own.
You could still do that. That's helpful. But for those of us who like still need X-band or maybe K-band especially,
Yeah.
if you still have that turned on, it's going to do a better job of filtering those out than maybe some of the older detectors, which is
Yeah.
kind of one of the biggest complaints if you don't live in an area where you can turn them off, is
Yeah.
just so many false alerts.
Yeah, well, that's actually most people's complaint about any time I bring up radar detectors is,
Yeah.
oh, the thing never shuts up.
Yeah.
And before I learned about the deactivating the X and the K, I would completely agree with them because the V1 is extremely sensitive.
Yeah.
For all bands of radar, and it is extremely annoying if you don't have the other ones deactivated.
Yeah, and I mean the majority of the country they still have K-band in use, so you need
Yeah.
it turned on, and like it's got good filtering against blind spot falses and cruise control. Not ideal, like every detector is still going to false to them, but one of the biggest things is it doesn't have a GPS chip built in.
Yeah.
So you can't have the detector learn stationary false alerts. So like automatic door openers you were talking
Right,
about.
right. Well, that's
all
a
gonna
lot
fall
of
to them.
people I know. Like, is it the Passport that does GPS?
There's a bunch now. Uniden, Redenso, Escort does
yeah,
it.
I think it's the Escort and the Passport are GPS ones, right?
They are, yeah.
Those are the real big name ones.
Yeah, the Escort does that.
Yeah, and a lot of people will prefer the Escort to the V1, I guess, because of the GPS. But
It's got the GPS.
and that might be better if you drive the same route every day, like if you got to commute.
Exactly, and if you still
Yeah.
got K-band turned on, so
Yeah.
you're always passing the same shopping center, you got speed signs.
Yeah.
It can learn those and filter them out.
Yeah.
You can actually do that with the V1 as well.
Is there a separate? Oh, with the phone, with the app.
If you
right?
add the app, it can do that.
If you fuck with the app,
Oh yeah, both
you
Android
do?
and iPhone.
Tell me about the app, about the
So,
V1 app, because I
it's
haven't tried
funny.
it yet.
So to do it, there's no Bluetooth built into the detector, so you actually have to get like a Bluetooth module. It's $50 and it just plugs into your V1 in the power cable, and then you can. There's an Android version and an iPhone version.
Okay.
But the thing is, Mike Valentine,
Yeah.
is.
Pull up that picture. Is that the UI?
Oh yeah, that's
there you go.
So
Pull
that's
that
an
up, Tim.
old app. That's Stealth Assist.
Okay,
that app,
different app?
that
Wrong
does
app?
low speed muting, but not the lockouts that I'm talking about.
Okay,
So
sorry, go
basically, there's YaV1 is what it's called. Yeah, that's the second one right here. There's the Android one. So you can see it's actually paired to the phone right there. It's a KA signal, but it would do the same thing for K-band. Basically, the idea is the app using your phone's GPS.
Right.
And then when it sees the same signals over and over, it'll learn it and then tell the V1 to mute itself.
Okay.
When it comes across a false alert.
And that's just full over Bluetooth, passive, everything, right?
Yeah, and it just runs in the background. It does take a little bit more
Now, what
to
about?
set up.
Wait, what about if you're Bluetooth to your car for your calls? Can it do it at the same time?
It can do both, yeah. So
Oh,
your
really?
phone can Bluetooth to multiple devices. Your V1
Really?
to your car, to a headset, whatever. Yeah.
My iPhone can.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guess I've never tried.
Yeah, so you can Bluetooth to multiple devices at the same time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is really nice, which is good because then you could actually take the audio from the V1 and maybe duplicate it over your car stereo or
Oh.
so you got like all sorts of different options.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nice for like bike riders, they can just
Yeah.
put the audio in their headset.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can wait. You can run audio for motorcycle guys.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll do that. Like they make
What
an
do they mount
external-
the V1 on the tank?
Yeah, they'll just put it like on the front of their bike, like right behind the windscreen.
You ever rock a V1 on your bike?
No,
What do you
never.
use for a power supply? Battery?
You can just wire it into your bike. So when you
Oh,
turn on your
really?
bike, you just hardwire it in.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah,
Pull
they make
that up,
waterproof
Tim. I
consoles.
like when people do this.
Oh, that's cool. Like the radar mirrors.
Yeah, this is my I don't know who made this one, but my boy, shout out to AI Design in Tuckahoe. He built Alex Roy's M5.
Oh, cool.
Matt Figliola, owner, and his people, genius people, very high end shop. And I'll name drop family friend Ralph Lauren buys every crazy car known to man, sends them all down there to have that done with his.
Those
with
are
his
really
mirrors.
cool when they get down like those
I
kind
like
of radar
that.
mirrors.
That's
yeah,
the shit.
They're really slick. If
Yeah.
you want a nice clean install,
Yeah.
those are nice.
You combine that with the new mirrors that everyone's using. Everyone's using the frameless mirrors now. You know what I'm talking about?
Like the ones in the Teslas.
Yeah, basically. GM's doing it. I think
Yeah.
Volvo for sure. Tesla does it. I think Tesla cribs it from Mercedes, which is doing it. Like basically all the luxury brands have eliminated the frame
Yeah.
around the mirror, and I assume you could still do that install. That looks dope, right?
Yeah, you just need a little bit of room behind the mirror, and then you can just put the display right back there and
Yeah.
clean off the silver finish, and yeah.
So the new thing is it's this digital scanning, so it filters stuff better, but does that mean if you've got something that's good, like a 5-year-old Passport or a V1, like Do I need to spend $500 again?
Maybe. I mean, those are still good detectors. Like the V1's still a great detector. Like they're actually coming out with a patent right now, which we just found out about a couple days ago with the digital version of the V1.
Fuck off, really?
So he's been working on different patents for new displays, new underlying hardware, but
Is he committed to using that same case?
so actually no, it will be a different design for the case.
Really?
It's going to have like the OLED display, different types of arrows that are going to be customizable.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
how exciting! I'll give him $500 again.
Oh, I'm ready
for
to get
a
one.
completely new piece of hardware.
Yeah.
I've had my V1 since 2003.
Mhm.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
I've sent it back once for a software update like
Yep.
4 years ago.
That's one of the nice things about the V1. You
Yeah.
just send it back, pay a fee, and then it updates it for you.
I mean, I bought one for my dad. Keeps his ass out of jail. The Taconic Parkway north of New York.
Uh-huh.
Fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So what else do we need to know?
So that's one of the big things. The GPS, like there's, so like that's actually one of my favorite detectors right there. The
What
new
is that?
Uniden. So
that's
that's
Uniden. I
yeah.
haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, so they don't have the brand recognition. They used to make detectors ages ago.
Yeah,
And they kinda
I remember
they
like
sucked.
80s Uniden stuff for sure.
Yeah, and then they got out for a while, but some of their new stuff they're coming out with is really, that's like the best performing detector on the planet, basically. These
Really?
days. Yeah.
Right now, so what's the story with it?
So,
What does best performing actually mean?
so it's got the longest range. It's better performing than the V1, than the Escort Redline, like anything else that's designed to be a high performance detector. That guy can actually outperform it. So the filtering is really good. The performance is amazing. This thing has been consistently beating everything else. It's got GPS built in. Like that one doesn't.
What
That's
I don't
the
get
R1.
is from that picture is a sense of size.
It's
Is it
small. It's maybe this big.
like pack of playing cards?
If you actually pull up on my Instagram, I posted a couple pictures with it recently. You'll see it. So like that's one from the other day.
I love your
Redline.
Instagram is funny because it's like these like ballers post pictures of their watches and their
Yeah.
car keys and shit, and you've got like these pictures.
I was like,
of
I'm playing
real-
with these detectors today. I got them on my windshield or sitting on my desk.
I'll tell you what though, you know how to take a picture. Like that's a well laid out picture. Good
There
for
it is.
you.
Yeah, they're just sitting on my desk. I'm like, all right.
VortexRadar on Instagram. Pull
Yeah.
that up for. Okay, so on the Uniden there's. Okay, so compared to, that's compared to the Escort Redline and what's the other one there on the right?
The updated Redline, the Redline EX.
Okay, so it of the 3 in the picture, it is the smallest.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. And
They
outperforms
figured
both of
out.
them.
They have. Okay, so the new ones are all using the single, the levered suction cup mount,
Yeah.
kind of like what comes with the GoPros.
A lot of them are doing that. Yeah. So you've got the options for like the big ones or the
Yeah.
small ones. I like both of them for different reasons.
I'll tell you what, I got a hack for you. I don't know. You probably know this, but the V1's real weak point. Pull up that picture in his Instagram on the left, Tim, of the V1, so those can see. So in this picture, for those looking, the V1 is on the right, and it uses these two, I think they're 1 inch, maybe 1 1/4 inch clear suction cups, right? And you gotta like lick your finger just
Lick
the
it
right
and
amount,
put it
just
on
the
there.
not too much, not too little.
Yep.
You got the car's got to be cold. The windshield can't be hot, right? And you got to do the thing and hold it there for 30 seconds, and then you got a pretty strong mount. But over time, especially if you move the thing from car to car, they get all flimsy and shitty.
I have that issue too. Constant
Right.
solution detectors.
Did you figure out a solution?
What's your solution for it?
Bed Bath & Beyond shower suction cups.
Really?
That size, the same little number. They're direct replacement. They're 80 cents.
And they fit in.
The
they slide?
plastic is almost double the thickness,
Uh-huh.
and they have like a ribs around them, like a structure.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you, I saw them for 79 cents. I bought a dozen of them. I have a lifetime of these fucking
That's
things.
awesome.
And they're so much more durable, and they last so much longer. They're just much nicer suction cups, and they work with the V1. I think it's just like, 1 inch suction cup. You get them on Amazon or whatever from Bed Bath & Beyond, and they are the shit.
I'm gonna have to check those out. I wonder
Yeah.
if they fit like other detectors as well. Because I'm
Anyone
constantly
that
having
has the
issue.
same little number as the Valentine one, it will fit. And like
Cool.
here in California and like or Florida, Texas, whatever, so much sun. It's so hot.
Yep.
You're out all day. Maybe you park on the street. Whatever. Like that thing is going to be varying in temperature, possibly 50, 60, 100 degrees. These cups are super legit.
That's nice. Yeah. Sometimes it'll actually fall off your windshield, and you don't want expensive detector falling off.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have, like, good
especially if
suction
you're
cups.
hardwired, because then it's going to dangle off your hardwire.
I get that a
Oh.
lot of times. I come back to my car and I see my
worst.
detector just hanging.
Oh, it's
like
the
that.
worst.
Yeah.
The suction cups really help with that.
That's cool.
What's your what's your verdict on dash height versus rear view mirror height?
Rearview mirror is the way
Rear
to
view
go.
mirror
Yeah.
is my move too.
Yeah, I like the dash mount just for temporary installs. Like when you'll see in my photos, I just throw it up there, And it's nice to have it low on the windshield, and that's just because it looks good in pictures.
Way easier to take that picture.
Yeah, especially with the camera mounted high.
It's hiding behind the thing.
That's the thing. So like, I actually run it up high by my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
It's like hidden there. You get better performance. It's accessible. The windshield is sloped towards you.
In general, the rule of thumb is as high as you can make it.
As high as you can make it.
As high as it goes.
It helps it to see over hills, over other vehicles. It gives you better performance and whatnot.
Why doesn't V1 make? Here's my patent, and this podcast can be a recording. Here's my idea.
Yeah.
A shark fin, exterior mount, like an XM antenna.
Okay.
Right. Bluetooth to your phone, which is the display. Right. With you'd have to run some type of power, but then you'd have the highest possible.
I've seen people do that where they'll do remote mount installs, and instead of actually installing it in their grill, they'll take the antenna and put it up on their roof rack.
Yeah, roof rack for sure. Or you could do some kind of like fucking crazy fin.
Yeah.
Really.
If you could make it look good, then yeah.
How much more range do you think you could potentially gain by that?
I've actually seen like pretty significant range bumps, but just by like mounting it up high like that.
Oh, for sure. You would top of windshield versus dash. There's got to
like
be
way down in the grill or something. That actually really does help.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great, and you got to run the wire down and whatnot. But for performance, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is what about like dash cams and shit? Are you versed in dash cams?
Yeah, so I've got
like
4 dash cams mounted in my car right now, testing and comparing them. Yeah, just to see
funny
to see which ones are the best and test nighttime quality.
When you go to buy a car, is a priority for you like a huge windshield?
So actually,
you need
one
a
of the
Model
priorities,
X. You need a Tesla Model X.
Well, they have the windshields that. So I thought about that, but there's 2 issues with the Model X. One, typically the windshields don't allow for radar detectors to pass through. To like work properly because the heated windshields.
It's heated.
Some of the Teslas, but not all of them.
Yeah.
And the grills are kind of limited in terms of where you can put detectors or jammers.
Well, there aren't grills.
Yeah.
Now they have
there
that face that's like, what is it? The Twilight Zone where the people don't have any mouths? Is that the thing?
That thing, yeah. I've actually tested one where somebody stuck jammers in the corners of that like mustache thing, and it worked.
Okay.
So you can make it work.
Yeah.
But like if you want, I've got 4 or 5 remote radar detectors installed on my grill on my Miata. I've got.
You're testing all this shit in a
Miata. I've got cables I'm like running out of room to install.
That's so funny. Someone's gonna fucking report you for
I've got so much stuff installed in my car.
Wait, how do we find a picture of what your windshield looks like at this moment? Was it on your Instagram?
It might be. I'm trying to find like where would I have the front of my car.
You should find a way to run like a live webcam in your Miata. Just there's so much shit going on.
I
in this
do that.
Miata.
Like I do tours of my cars, like showing people.
There's a seat with wires all over it.
So there's a couple of remotes that I'm installing. Click left.
Wow. So are you just like constantly? Do your grills like sloppy pussies now? They're just falling out because you take them out so much.
This is old. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's
remotes.
hysterical.
I've got another one that I put in there. I want to put in a 6th one.
Oh, like so for those listening, we're looking at an NC Miata, a last generation Miata, which is a lovely car by the way.
Yeah. It's fun
so you've got the primary big mouth grill, although you don't have the ugly mouth. You have the better mouth of the 2 mouths.
I'm really glad. Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Yep.
You've cut a hole in that grill. And you have what appears to be 2 devices.
So I've got the laser jammers installed right there. Those are professionally installed because they had to cut. And, Yeah.
And then you've got another big hole in the right side of this photograph.
That's just like somebody backed into my car. So there's actually this like little plastic cover, and
why haven't you mounted something?
So it's funny, like I actually got a cover for it.
Yeah, I had to cut that. I'm so gangster. I'm cutting up my own car for science.
I got the cover for that, and then somebody backed into my car and cracked my grill, and now I can't put it back in there anymore.
Well, now you can put another radar detector in there, and then your lower lip, right, your lower valance there.
That's the easiest place.
Is that an intake you filled with?
Pretty much. I filled it with radar detectors.
Is that the air scoop for your engine?
Yeah, it is.
How's
it doesn't
your
get to the point.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean,
you've covered up what appears to be at least 25% of your intake. I'm not trying to nitpick.
No, it's funny, but like the majority of the air intakes are right around there, and you just got a couple little ones there, and that actually kind of goes down like below the car. It's more for like airflow.
Okay, and then what is the testicles hanging from your license plate?
So that's a Stinger VIP.
Which is what?
Also a radar detector.
Okay.
The expensive one. It's like the most expensive one out there.
And you have to have that huge box hanging off the front of your car?
Or you can install it behind a body panel or something. And people a lot of
will
times
that
do
go
that.
through body work unlike the lasers?
So radar, it will do it. If it's flat, non-metallic body panel, you can do that.
Flat, non-metallic.
That's the trick for this.
Paintwork?
I've actually got metallic paint. So I can't install.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why you see all of mine out in the open like that.
Interesting. I didn't know that one at all.
Yeah.
Wait, so what makes the Stinger VIP by far the best radar detector?
So the hardware is very sophisticated.
Okay.
There's some issues with it, honestly. Like, I've had a chance to work with them a ton. The software really needs development. If they like really, really took the time to improve the software side of it, it would be amazing.
So is it just like range?
Yeah, great. Well, I would say yes, but the one that I have, something's going on with it, and the range is lower than it should be.
Okay.
So it should have good range, should have good filtering. It's got your lockouts. It's undetectable by radar detector detectors.
Undetectable by
It is.
radar detector detectors. So
Yep.
you're not necessarily advising you buy one in Virginia.
No, not at all.
No.
But there are some detectors
But what
that
would the
feature that.
shipping cost be hypothetically to Virginia?
Free? Free shipping, yeah.
I'm not saying that if you live in Virginia, you must have this. Oh, I should probably
No.
take this.
There are a lot of detectors that are undetectable. The Unidens, the Escorts, Stingers, Redenso.
Really? All this shit is
A
undetectable
lot
now?
of companies make undetectable detectors now.
What if they make a detector for the invisible detecting software?
A radar detector detector.
Detector.
So some companies actually do that.
Yeah, of
But
course
they
do.
do that because their detectors suck and they can't make it undetectable. Well, not every detectable one sucks. But like Cobra, for example, they
Yeah.
make some where they're like horrible detectors. And really all that feature actually is we want an extra check mark on a marketing list.
That's so funny.
So it's wildly detectable, but when you get really close to it and the
Yeah.
officer already knows that you have a detector, then it shuts itself off and tells you, oh,
That
there's a radar
is
detector detector.
Hysterical.
So it's not really a useful feature, but that does exist. Yeah. So it exists. But yeah, there's a ton of stealth detectors, which is like in the U.S. it's not a big deal. If they find you have a detector in Virginia, it's less than $100, and they don't even confiscate
Is
your
that it?
detector
They
anymore.
make such a big deal out of that.
It used to be. They used to confiscate detectors in
Yeah.
Ontario. They can like impound your car, and there's like
Ontario,
huge-
Canada?
In Canada,
Because we have in Ontario.
yeah,
That
yeah,
really
yeah.
fucks
in
with you
Canada.
when you move to LA.
Yeah.
Like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Ontario. You're like, fuck, really? And it's like, it's right there.
We've got the same thing in Seattle with Vancouver.
Yeah.
So Vancouver, Canada is 3 hours north. Vancouver,
Yeah.
Washington is 3 hours south.
There's a Vancouver, Washington, 3 hours south.
Right on the border, like just north of Portland.
Oh, God, that's dumb.
So they say, oh, go to Vancouver? Which one?
That's extremely dumb.
And they're both like right in the same area.
People fucked, and weed's legal there. Someone's fucking that up.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, someone's fucking that shit up.
Good place to live for tax purposes. There's no state tax in Washington.
In Washington?
And then you just go across the border to Portland, and there's no sales tax.
Oh, so you buy in one and sell in the other. It's
There you go.
brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah.
It's a great place
I
to drive
love
sports
it.
cars.
It's unbelievable.
Been
It's
to a
so
couple
beautiful.
press launches out of Seattle, and like those roads in between Seattle and like Snoqualmie and all that. Just
Yeah.
oh, the best.
My gosh.
It's the best.
I love driving out there just to drive.
Yeah.
Like we'll go on driving trips with Miata clubs, that kind of stuff, or just for fun. It's the mountains are just
It's
so
the
beautiful
best.
out there. The roads are incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I love it.
Top 4 or 5 driving state.
It's amazing. People always talk about the rain and the cloudiness, which is true, but
Which is
like
fine.
But then with all the rain, you get the lush green nature.
You know what? When
and-
it rains all the time, like, I mean, look, if you're trying to drive a convertible, okay, I understand the point.
Yeah.
But when it rains all the time, the roads stay grippy. Here, when it rains, it's a real problem.
that's true.
You know, no people don't understand because when I'm driving, occasionally I'll have to be doing a video and it'll start raining.
Yeah.
And I all of a sudden turn into like a giant vagina.
Yeah.
You know, it's always because it's in some super sketchy car. It never happens in like a brand new RS6. It's always in like, you know, some 2JZ fucking 240, you know,
Oh,
death
man.
trap.
No stability control or
No,
anything.
it's always just some unknown quantity. But the roads just get so slick.
Yeah.
You know, because of all the dust and the coolant and, you know, and also
The oil's been sitting for
the oil's
4
been-
months
it's been
since the
sitting
last
for
time it
months,
rained.
You know,
Yeah.
When was the
it's
last
like
time it
ice.
rained here? Like who even knows?
Do you guys get much rain here, or how does that work? In the winter,
It
maybe?
rains 10 times a year between January and March.
That's it.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Although last year was exceptional. Last year I had to cancel I think 6 or 7 shoot days because of rain.
Wow.
We're not in the drought anymore. Although they were like, the drought's over, and then it has literally not rained once since they said the drought's over. Who knows when it's gonna rain again?
So top 4 or 5 driving states.
Well,
What's
California,
one-
Colorado,
Oh, that'd be nice.
Washington.
Washington.
I'm gonna throw out the curveball is West Virginia.
Really?
Spectacular.
It's like through
And
the Appalachians.
beautiful.
just
And
the
beautiful.
best.
Yeah.
The best. West Virginia, North Carolina. Those are my best.
I used to like hike up there, go to North Carolina. So
Yeah.
whenever we drive to go up the trails and all, oh my gosh, the mountains up
it's the
there, the
best.
Appalachians,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
But there's a lot of other good places. The top 10, you know, you throw in Vermont, Montana,
It makes sense, kind of the coastal cities and just not the
places
Midwest.
without a lot of people to
Yeah.
fucking muck it up.
That helps.
You know, you want open. What else do we need to know?
So
dash cams.
Dash cams,
We're going
yeah.
down dash cams. Yeah. So what's the one to have now?
So there's a ton of them. I've got some Vicovation ones. I've got Blackview cameras in my
Wait,
car.
I'm sorry. What was the first thing you said you have?
Vicovation?
Is that a brand?
Yeah, so it's a
Oh,
brand. They make
okay.
some like higher end dash cams, $250 or so.
Okay. What does one of those look like?
Yeah, so actually
That
the one
one?
that you've got pulled up there.
What is that? The controller or is that the actual camera?
So that's the back of it with the buttons and the LCD
okay.
and everything. And then, so that's a pretty good one. The video quality is pretty good. There are some weird quirks that I found with it. I'm kind of talking to the manufacturer to see if we can resolve them. I'm
is that
testing
forward and reverse or just forward?
So that one's just forward, front-facing one. So that's like a good kind of higher-end camera.
That's $250.
$250
With memory card? No memory card.
No memory card.
And what does that have that other ones like don't have?
Higher resolution, shoots at like 1440p instead of
Oh,
1080, things like
okay.
that. You can get them with Wi-Fi. They record both when you're driving and when you're parked,
Oh.
things like that.
So at what point can one of those drain the battery of your car?
So they actually have some like monitoring devices that keep it from draining your battery too much.
Okay.
So like if the voltage drops too low, it just shuts off the dash cam.
Okay.
So they make devices that monitor that, or
That's
you can
good.
get like external battery packs.
Yeah, because that was sort of one of my fears of having. People like I see these, various dash cam videos, these dealers fucking with people's cars, whatever, and
Yeah.
the car, it's like, oh, the car's parked and this camera's running. Like, how fucking long is this thing running? Like 24/7?
Yeah, a lot of them do. I've
Really?
got my favorite one that I've been running these days is a Blackview camera. And it comes with an accessory that lets you do that. So I let mine run
Is an
24/7.
accessory like battery pack?
So I've got a battery pack and like the voltage monitor to run off my car's battery. So I've got like both
Where do you
systems.
shove this fucking?
So the battery pack is I don't have room for that. So that's like under the passenger seat.
Dude, if honestly, if you started a GoFundMe for a car with some space, you know what you need? You know what would be a perfect car for you?
It'd
Here's
be
what
like
I'm
a
thinking.
truck or something.
No, here's what I'm thinking, because you need something like baseline, right? So if you're testing detectors, like you don't want a flashy car that drives extra attention, right?
Right.
You want to be kind of what in the middle, right? You need a Ford 500 that
Ford
later
500?
became the Taurus. They changed the name mid-run.
Yeah.
This is a car that is fundamentally invisible.
That's true.
Pretty reliable car, big, spacious, huge greenhouse.
That's a big car.
Really big greenhouse. I'm telling you, you could buy the nicest one of these things in the world for about $4,000.
Seriously.
And that is your perfect invisible. Pull up the Ford 500.
I had a friend who actually had one of those. We used to test with his car all the time.
Got
It was
one as a
great.
rental car once. Gene
Yeah.
Sanchez, my old camera, vomited right in the passenger seat. There it is. Look at that. Look at how tall the roof is compared to the side of the door.
Reminds me of like an old
it's
Sonata
like
or
it's
something.
like you took a Volkswagen, a new Beetle, and just stretched it to add another door in it.
What's the grill look like on that car?
I don't know. Pull it up.
Like,
Pull
do we
up
have a
the
good spot
fucking-
for like installing
Pull up the grill.
jammers?
There
or
you go.
anything?
That's
Like a-
good.
Maybe if you do it without the mesh grill, you can
That's
install them down at the bottom.
It's got a good grill.
Maybe
That's
get a
the
different
second
grill with
gen.
like horizontal slats or something.
So
There
the
you go.
second gen, I think the grill is about. It's pretty small. It's like Aston Martin size, but you got lower grills too.
You do, and you got
The
plenty of
lower-
room in there.
You got like, dude, how many lower grill slats are there?
Oh, I could fit so many radar detectors
I'm
in there.
telling you, you could fit like 10. You could easily fit probably 10 to 12 radar detectors in the lower valance. of
Easily.
that
I could even
Ford.
start installing the bad ones in there just because I've got room.
Tell me that wouldn't be the
be a total
perfect car to
sleeper.
test radar.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. There's the grill.
That's the picture.
With that grill.
Pull it up. You could just take out that grill and look at the height of windshield compared to height of car.
And as long as you got enough
great.
room, like behind the dash and everything, I
great.
can install everything. That'd be great. I know. I've been looking. Like, I love the Miata. It's such
Yeah.
a fun car, but for like testing, I don't have a lot of room in there.
Can you think of a better one than that? I mean, you can go
Maybe a truck?
in
SUV?
trucks. Well,
That
dude,
could work.
Yeah, you could.
I don't need
find,
to haul
like,
stuff.
Maybe do you want like as close to the average?
It's like not that.
Close
bad.
yeah, let's just pull that one up. As close to the that's a Ford.
There you go. That's a good way to fly
500
under the radar right there.
126.
Speaking of flying under the radar, I want to go back to the perfect car, but I just had to bring it up before I forget. We were in Europe, in Germany, and we saw an RS6 Avant. Stunning car.
love those.
In one of those pull-offs, and it had a Landau fucking roof on it. I kid you not.
Really?
It had a proper Landau cloth roof on it. Gangster as fuck. What? So maybe for you, would it... Stop pulling up pictures of Ford 500. It's on rip. That is like... That to me says St. Louis rapper. My first album came out a week and a half ago.
It's like, let me put rims on this.
This is what I got with the advance. That's what that says to me. Or is that Tyga? I don't know. the average car, right? You want something that is the most in the middle.
Yeah, I want something that's like representative of what most people would drive. So like a family sedan would work, an SUV would
Small
work.
crossover.
Crossover could be great.
I feel like, like a Mazda CX-5. I hate to always bring up the Mazda CX-5, but it seems like it's right in the middle of everything.
That could work. As long as it doesn't have like the radar cruise control, some of the Mazdas do.
Oh.
Or like the
so
radar
it has
blind
to
spot
have
stuff.
no radar cruise control.
Either that or on a frequency that doesn't interfere with radar detectors.
Yeah. Well,
and some of the Mazdas have laser stuff too. Actually, the CX-5s, do you have laser turned on in your V1?
Yes.
You do? Do you get a lot of laser pulses on it?
No,
That's
not
interesting.
Really. I mean, occasional, but not really. No.
Because the CX-5s a lot of times would trigger the V1.
Really?
Mazdas, Infinitis, or Volvos are the three big ones that I see.
Volvos and Infinitis, 100%.
Yeah.
Infinitis, I know an FX35 is coming from a fucking mile away.
Yeah. You can tell. It's like
Yeah.
I turn laser off on my V1 or
and
whatever.
Volvo XC90s.
XC90s, they'll trigger them too.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And I just let my jammers handle all the laser stuff. But
That's cool, man. So are those two cameras your recommendation for cameras?
I like the new DR750S, the Blackview.
What's that? Oh, the DR750S.
So it just came out. I've been running the 650S.
Is that it right there? The one that looks like a scope for a rifle?
Yeah, it's kind of like this horizontal tube.
Yeah.
So I've been running that.
It
And
looks
I
like an
it
action
quite a
cam.
bit. Yeah, exactly.
Is that it right there?
That's the new one.
It
60
goes
FPS
sideways
and-
though. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the windshield mount, and it sticks sideways.
Oh, so it looks more like our webcams than it does.
Exactly. It's kind of the
okay.
horizontal design. Great
Yeah.
video quality, good at night, good in the day. And
Does
it does driving and
Does that
parked.
record and you hardwire it? Just
Yeah, you hardwire it.
Uh-huh.
So easy right into the fuse box or wherever. I use like a little box that monitors the voltage level.
Oh, so do you have one box that all your shit goes into?
No, so everything goes in the fuse box, but I got a whole bunch of different power taps because
Yeah.
I've run out of spots on the cables. So I've had to like install for detectors, extra expansion ports,
Yeah.
jammers. Like there's so much stuff in
Why
the car.
don't you have like one box that's like a mixing board basically that
That
just
would be
goes
nice.
into your I feel like this is something that would help you so much.
It's kind of one of those things where you just run the cables and you never really mess with it too much.
Right.
So
but
as
if
long
you
as
had
it's
like
there,
if I were you, I'd want something that was almost like a guitarist's pedal board.
That would be
you know,
nice.
that you would just plug the board into your one power source and then everything else you could just do in the footwell of the car.
one thing that would actually be really nice for that, like for the jammers that I have, can integrate with radar detectors.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no good way of changing which detector is plugged into it without physically going in and changing the cables.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
having like Ethernet splitters or something where I can just change what's going into it would be a nice
Yeah.
add-on to do.
Are all the other detectors still using telephone cords?
Yeah.
They are, right?
They are.
It's not just the V1?
No, everybody does that, which I love.
It's the best.
It's great.
You
It
go to
locks
Radio
in.
Shack. Well, not anymore.
Yeah,
but
well,
you went to
you could,
Radio
yeah.
Shack and buy a fucking get telephone cords.
And so they're all universal. If you ever want
Yeah.
to swap detectors, which I do all the time, being
Yeah.
able to plug in almost any brand of detector into the same plug, I love that.
It's and you can have like just different lengths and colors and like you can
Yep.
match like if you have a tan interior, like you can get a tan telephone cord that will actually match your
Totally.
interior and like won't look all weird.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool.
That's cool. So yeah.
Anything
they're
else?
fun.
Let me see. Let me look on. This is going to be not really a delay. You want to check your live camera? How do you know
Yeah,
from the
sure.
front
It's
that you're
still
still living?
So I actually thought about.
You have any idea?
So it's still going. Oh,
Is it?
41 people watching. That's cool.
41. Hi, 41 people.
Oh hey, yeah. So there's change.
So it works.
Yeah, it looks like it's
Oh,
working. It's
how
been
about
running the
that?
whole time, so
I'm glad that our internet solutions are actual solutions.
I'm glad it's working. You've got fast Wi-Fi.
Dude, it took
hopefully the
years.
quality's
Oh,
good.
good. We have questions from Facebook.
I have
yeah.
a question first.
Yeah, sure.
What is
Shoot.
the future of radar detection, and particularly
Oh, man.
given GPS and all the computers in the cars, and they can track the speed? At what point do the police just tune into that and go, "This car is going that, and this car is going that"?
That's
and
actually
that,
something
and
we're wondering about. Like, as cars start moving to like self-driving cars, then do you need a radar detector if the car is driving itself? Or what about when you have the option of like self-driving versus manual driving? So that actually could change. So that could be really interesting to see. Like, will we still need detectors in the future? I think for a little while. It's going to take a while to go to like fully autonomous cars.
Yeah.
But I think that could be really interesting because a lot of that stuff will change.
The countries with like I think the best trained drivers, like
Germany?
They don't really need them. You know,
No.
there's not, a lot of these, I think it's the shift over time is really good, at least before we see autonomous cars, which will happen, but are not happening anytime soon. We will see photo enforcement.
Yeah, there's a lot of that coming on
in
now.
Europe, and that's I actually wanted to go. The first question, because I was just doing Europe adventure drives, I drove across Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Italy.
They got a lot of photo radar out there.
which is all of it is basically photo enforcement. There is I only saw in all of those countries and almost 2,000 miles of driving, I only saw one actual police officer shooting laser.
Yeah.
In I don't even remember where it was. I think Austria actually. Everywhere else was photo enforcement. Switzerland, is possibly the most beautiful country in the world.
That's gorgeous.
The trade-off is that it has the most aggressive, driving enforcement laws. Period.
Aren't there tickets like based on your income?
Well,
So if you're
over a
super
certain
rich?
point,
Okay.
at every level, a ticket in Switzerland is fuck all expensive.
Really?
Yes, every level. The biggest ticket I've ever gotten in my life was in Switzerland. It was €1,000 for
Ouch.
19 kilometers over.
19 kilometers.
Yeah. Someone on Adventure Drives did a very dumb thing, which was make a U-turn in one of those tunnels.
Oh,
They have
wow.
like long ass tunnels through mountains, and someone literally made a U-turn in the tunnel. Was caught on camera because there's cameras everywhere.
Oh, it was on camera.
And the fucking cops show up at the hotel. Like
Oh.
this dude doesn't get pulled over.
Wow.
These cops follow
They're
him
monitoring.
from the tunnel to the hotel.
Wow.
Show up at the hotel and demand to see the driver of the orange Lamborghini and fine him. I believe the number was €6,000. They don't fuck around in Switzerland, dude. You do not. I'm telling you, radar cruise control. I rented an Audi S7, lovely car.
I saw that. Yeah.
Radar cruise control in Switzerland. It's painful. You're driving across Switzerland. You're talking about 300K at 60K an hour, which is like
35,
it's
40,
like
something like that.
40.
Yeah.
Or maybe 100K an hour, which is 60. You're like exhausted after doing that. It's even with radar cruise control, you're like falling asleep.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But then you get the Alps, which has no enforcement.
So you just enjoy the views.
The mountains, no, you can drive fast on the mountain passes.
Oh,
There's
that's
no
cool.
photos up there. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the trade-off. But it's just the most beautiful country in the world. So the first question was about, did we see undercover speed enforcement in Europe versus back home? In the countries I was in, I saw zero undercover speed enforcement. I saw cameras and one marked cruiser. If we consider going to the UK and filming one takes, I would love to go to the UK. I have an offer for crazy cars in the UK. The UK is unfortunately one of the top 3 most expensive places globally that I could go to film. And so to make a business case for it is very hard. However, if anyone for any reason flies me to the UK for work, I will stay and film some videos. Literally, I could go to the UK and film an XJ220.
That'd be cool.
Which would be great. But that's like,
Just for that?
3 days of flying and,
Yeah.
and all that for one video. Okay. Here's a radar question. Are the V1s still one of the better detectors on the market, even though they don't have GPS like some others?
I'd say
Opinion?
so. I think they're more of an enthusiast detector nowadays. I don't.
Enthusiast detector. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's like the E30 of detectors. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like people use it because it's a classic.
Yeah, like it's not the easiest to use. Like we were looking at the programming, and yeah, you've got the dial, and you got to know it's okay, arrow up and down. Like there's other detectors that have similar capabilities. They're easier to use. They have more features, like the Max 360. I
Yeah.
think that's a better general purpose detector. But for somebody who's like an enthusiast, we tend to prefer the V1s. Like it's just such a refined, well-built detector.
Yeah.
You don't have the bugs that you're dealing with some of the other
There are
ones.
no
and
bugs.
It's at this point, it's
I've
amazing.
never even heard of one really acting.
They do kind of
actually,
error
it's not
out
true.
sometimes.
I've heard of one acting up, and we sent it back in service, and it was fine.
Yeah, they will sometimes error out. I've had that happen, but otherwise,
Yeah.
it's a great enthusiast detector.
It's so funny. The word enthusiast detector to me is hilarious.
Yeah.
Of all the cars on Adventure Drive, which one would I have taken if I could have been in any of them, and which was the weirdest one there? So the thing with having an event in Europe that's really for Americans is only 2 people actually shipped cars there. Everyone else rented. Exotic rentals and luxury rentals in Europe are fairly reasonable compared to in America.
Yeah, here they're expensive.
Yeah, so in America, you want 2 days in a 488, like a weekend, you're probably talking about $6,000.
Right.
In Europe, that gets you in one for a week.
That's much better.
So it's actually better. So a lot of there was like a bunch of 48s and Huracans and stuff on this event that people just rented. And of all the cars there, like so it was like 48s, Huracans. There was a 458. There was a 2 Bentley GTs and an R8 and F types, two or three 911s, like stuff you'd expect. Nothing
Sure.
out of the ordinary, nothing wonky.
Fun exotics.
JF was there, my friend JF. He rented an S6 wagon,
Cool.
which was pretty cool. I rented an S7, which is the same car, just with a different body on it, and I thought it was lovely, and I was perfectly happy with, if you're doing that kind of, everyone who rented a Huracan, like, came up to me and they were like, yo, like, I might trade this for like something else, like, because
Really?
Huracans are great for like a couple hours, like, you don't.
It's
Everyone who's like,
uncomfortable,
there
or-
was, they're hard. They're
Yeah.
hard to do that many miles in, and they're just not that comfortable. The R8 is much better if you want kind of the same experience, but but it was so funny to see. It was like some people's like first rally type event, and you bring a supercar to your first rally, and then you bring a GT car or like a big super saloon sedan kind of thing, to your next one.
Totally
And,
makes sense.
Yeah, comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort. Okay. How much do paint color and reflective surfaces actually matter with laser? Is my black car meaningfully better off against laser than a white one?
It used to be with older laser guns, yeah, but with newer ones, they can get reflections. You can point at a tree and get a distance reading like that. I mean, you can point it at any part of the car at this point. It used to be like the grille and the headlights or taillights or the plates or the target areas, which is true because they're the most reflective. You can point a laser gun, a modern one, at any part of the car and it'll get a reading. So paint color, trying to use plasti dip on your grill, any of that kind of stuff, it doesn't really help anymore.
What about size of vehicle?
Size of vehicle will make it easier. Especially like a car for laser that's like the back of the car is usually easier to get a reading off of because it's a big kind of reflective perpendicular
Yeah.
target, whereas the front's usually more angled like
More
this.
wedge shaped.
So wedge shaped. So especially
Unless
if
you're
you
in
have-
like a F-250 Platinum King
you got
Ranch,
something like
and then
that.
it's like a
It's like,
fucking big,
oh, it's so
big
easy.
lunch tray
and
coming
then it's
at
like
you.
you need a bunch of jammers on there and you're fine. But yeah,
Yeah, what do you need, like a 12 pack?
usually actually about 3 of them will get by. 2 for smaller cars, 3 for bigger ones. I've seen people do that though, just cover them. Yeah.
Someone wants to know, can we trust reviews from Radar Roy's website? RadarDetector.org. Do you know that person?
Yes, I do.
Can you trust his reviews?
You want the honest answer?
Sure.
He's one of the reasons that I got into making videos and testing because I saw his videos and I wasn't really happy with it.
Okay.
So he's passed away now.
Oh.
But so he primarily promotes escort
You
detectors.
can't speak ill of the dead.
I know, right? So
Well,
he never liked the V1 because he couldn't sell it. And so he would always kind of put it down and say, here's
because
why
he couldn't sell it?
he couldn't make a profit. Well, so yeah, Valentine only sells direct. You can only go to
Oh,
Valentine's
so this guy's
website.
got a fucking store and gets cuts?
He does. So he
Oh.
sells radar detectors
Oh.
for a living, and he makes videos teaching you about it. So
Oh.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
questionable information because financially, and
Okay.
like, I mean, I'm incentivized to recommend one or another, but I will still happily recommend detectors that I don't get paid on.
All right, what are you incentivized to recommend?
So then anything that sells on like Amazon, for example, Amazon affiliate links.
Oh, okay.
Or some companies, like I've got deals with them where I'll
I'm going to
have
give you a
coupon
pass.
code.
And I'm going to give you, not that I'm the ethical king, but I will
Yeah.
give you an ethical pass on Amazon affiliate.
Yeah, and like
I mean,
there's
it's
detectors.
just a lot of people do Amazon affiliate, and you can buy some on Amazon affiliate.
Yeah, and you could even buy a V1 on Amazon, but you'll pay more than
Can
full
you?
retail,
Oh.
and you'll get no warranty.
Oh.
And so
what are you
people-
buying, a refurb one from someone else?
So Valentine only ships to a couple. They ship to the U.S. and 3 provinces in Canada.
Yeah.
And so if you want one outside, you have to go through somebody else who resells.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, I would say by far the most annoying thing about a Valentine one is actually getting it.
yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, for in the modern era to not have an Amazon store or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it seems a little behind the times.
And it could be tough to get a tracking number from them, and yeah, they could update that.
They've shown up when I've bought them.
That
but,
helps. That's
But it
what you
was
need.
old school as fuck.
It is, yeah.
Last question: is there any effective way to guard against instant on from police heading the opposite direction? So do you want to just give us a quick primer on, or give the audience a quick primer on instant on?
Instant on, yeah.
And then is there any way to?
Yeah, so a lot of radar detector companies will like to advertise we can detect the latest instant on guns, which I always thought was kind of silly. The idea is a radar gun, it's transmitting, and what officers will try to do is to prevent radar detector users from getting advanced warning, they'll turn off their radar gun. And then when they see somebody up ahead who's speeding, they'll turn on their radar gun, lock in the speed, and the detector user gets no advance warning.
AKA a cop working, and
cop
not
working.
a cop sitting.
Exactly. A cop who's actively, and that's a technique that they can use to try to defeat radar detectors.
Yeah.
And
If
it
you
is
get
effective.
me with instant on, I'm not even mad.
Yeah.
Because you were working.
You were working for
and
it.
you tried it, and you got me. I'm
Yeah.
not even mad.
Exactly.
Have you ever congratulated a cop for getting you?
It's like, that was a good shot. You
Yeah.
come around to bend and it's like you're toast.
I
and you're
swear
like,
to God, have you ever congratulated a cop for getting
I've never
you?
congratulated. I'm getting upset
It
when that
actually
happens.
feels pretty good. They get really happy.
They do.
I did not get let off, but I got a drastic reduction for like, thing went off, like he got me before he'd even put his car in drive. I was
You're already
stopped.
on the shoulder.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, your hiding spot and your timing. I mean, bravo. I was like, you got me. That was good.
Yeah.
And he was like, thank you very much, sir. And
That's a cool way to approach it. I like that.
It's fine. He
Yeah.
had me. What was I gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fight with the guy. Fuck off. He's
Yeah,
doing
so
his
like,
job.
what's the trick? How do you avoid that? So there's kind of two tricks to it. The main thing is having a rabbit ahead of you. So somebody else that you're following. So
Yeah,
they're going to be the
yeah.
ones drawing fire.
In most cases, this rabbit is going to be a stranger.
Yes,
You
you're
know,
using a
unless
stranger.
if you are a super baller and you have a rabbit ahead of you everywhere.
Yeah,
God,
which you're
is
not
that
always going to
delightful.
have. So you kind of have to, like, sometimes it's riskier at night with no rabbits. What are you going to do? So it's ideally having a rabbit and a really sensitive detector, so you're picking up instant on ahead.
And then it's brake lights.
brake lights,
looking at brake lights,
that kind of stuff. So it's like a combination of tools.
But actually, without a rabbit, not really. Actually, I'll give you a way to defend it.
Yeah.
The S7 I just drove, as well as many other cars I've tested or whatever. Night vision cameras. Audi has a thermal camera now that's
Yeah.
meant to be a pedestrian safety thing.
You can see
but
cops on the shoulder
You can
and-
see a car with an idling engine behind a tree.
I've seen
you
people
know?
actually installing thermal cams in their
Yeah.
cars for this exact reason.
Alex Roy did that shit back in the day for the M5. I'm not sure it actually helped him with anything, but it was fucking cool at the time.
It is. I
And
love that
now,
stuff.
Now Audi's got a full digital gauge cluster, so you flip that bitch on, and your whole gauge cluster is a night vision camera.
That'd
now.
be really
It's
nice. You don't have to
bitchin'.
like look over to the side.
Oh no,
and
it's amazing.
that sounds really
It's
cool.
Super good. Yeah.
And the cameras are getting better and better. So yeah.
Yeah.
That could work too.
It works better, I think, when it's cold and clear. Cold, dry air. It works the
That would make
best because
sense.
a hot engine would be the biggest
like
contrast.
a big contrast to it. Yeah.
That was the best, but
Yeah.
supposedly it's for pedestrians and deer.
Yeah.
But it also helps if you happen to have a hidden engine.
And that's the thing. It's like people think, oh, I get a radar detector and now I'm bulletproof from tickets. And it's like, no, there's multiple different techniques. There's different tools, and you can't get totally immune from them, but you can kind of help lean the odds in your favor.
Do any other detectors out there? Do you have to learn the language like you do with V1, or is it they all kind of have with a display? It's a little.
They do a
more
little bit better of
straightforward
making it easier for you, but the V1, it's kind of learning the language, and it's also just listening to the ramp up and like the sounds. You can kind of associate that with what's going on with the world ahead of you.
Okay.
And it makes it really easy just to kind of correlate the sounds with the road ahead and figure out, is he over the
Right.
hill, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can do it with
Yeah,
other
no. If
detectors,
you go
but-
up and over a hill, the sound comes and goes, and you can kind of see. Oh, if it goes away, maybe it's a certain hiding place.
Yeah, and the V1 does a really, really good job of that.
Yeah. This was interesting. Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, man, it's
I
a pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Ariel from VortexRadar. Why do I keep saying Radar Vortex?
Radar
My
Vortex.
brain
VortexRadar.
is turning it backwards. VortexRadar.com.
That's me.
VortexRadar on Instagram. What else do you want to plug?
Twitter, the main thing is YouTube and website. That's where I'm the most active.
And you just want to search for VortexRadar on
If you find it.
on
My YouTube
right?
username is TravelCam1111. YouTube doesn't let you change that, which is annoying. But if you search VortexRadar on YouTube, you'll find it.
Lesson for other prospective YouTubers out
Yes.
there.
Make
It
sure you're
helps.
100% sure when you set your username
Yeah,
for YouTube.
you really want to do that. And but thanks for coming, man. This was a good, interesting discussion.
This
I
is great,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
This
And
was fun. Thanks.
for coming out. And
pleasure.
we're going to break. I'm going to sell some real estate. We're going to come back, and I've got an interview with a really interesting gentleman named Roger Donaldson, who is the director of a new documentary called McLaren about Bruce McLaren, which is it's a really cool documentary. Roger Donaldson was also the director of a movie called The World's Fastest Indian with Anthony Hopkins, which is an awesome movie. And we have a good discussion about Kiwis in motorsport and Bruce McLaren. And stick around. We'll be right back. This episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by Driveline. Driveline is the world's first social driving app coming exclusively to the iPhone. Discover the pleasure of driving, not to get somewhere, but simply to be on the road. Whether you're a longtime driving enthusiast or just someone who wants to discover why driving can be fun, this is the app for you. You can map and classify your favorite driving roads based on style, location, or whether it's a loose surface, a cruise, an off-road trail, while capturing basic metrics and driving data. With Driveline, you can use your phone's camera to capture video of your drive or use an external camera or maybe even a drone, posting those videos to the feed so everyone can see why your time behind the wheel matters, or keep them for yourself in your library. You can build a profile, share your cars, track your drives, and earn points towards contests and giveaways. Now, Are you new to an area or looking for new roads to travel? Driveline lets you search for roads in any given area by radius and style. Review the maps, videos, comments, likes, and the point scores of the creator. If you're looking for a loose surface rally style drive, there may be something closer than you think. Check out Driveline in the Apple App Store. Oh, this episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by Forza Motorsport 7. It's here, people. The time has finally come. Forza 7 is here, and guess what? I am in it. Not just me, but a couple of your other friends from the Smoking Tire Podcast as well. Johnny Lieberman, our favorite bourbon-drinking bearded Jew, is in the game. And some great other voices in motorsport. Look, we've got 700 cars. I want to drive all of them. We've got over 30 tracks, some fictional, some real, some are true staples of motoring pleasure. And we've got the largest assortment of Ferraris, Porsches, and Lamborghinis ever, including the new GT2 RS. Oh, yeah, 4K, 60 frames per second, HDR, all the good stuff, and Matt Farah's in the game. What? Get Forza 7 now at xbox.com/Forza or ForzaMotorsport.net, and friend us on Xbox Live. It's TST Racing. Forza Motorsport 7 is the official driving simulator of the Smoking Tire Podcast. What do we got here? Oh, Pro Flowers. It's fall. And you know what happens in the fall? You snuggle up, you make some soup, and you get some flowers for the person you love. Someone who may be obsessed with pumpkin spice lattes and scented candles and leaves and colors, and you found the perfect gift for their birthday, a fresh fall bouquet in their favorite fall colors. Yes, you're going to be a boss. Pro Flowers has the perfect gift for anyone excited about fall. A long-lasting bouquet in their favorite fall colors. Cinnamon, cider, roses. Yeehaw! A great option for a birthday and anniversary, or go with one of the classics like 100 autumn blooms or a dozen autumn roses. You can't lose, because no matter which bouquet you get, the listeners get 20% off. 20%, folks. Any Pro Flowers unique bouquet of $29 or more. 20% off. Oh, yeah. Proflowers.com. Code SMOKING. SMOKING at checkout. $29 or more, 20% off, code SMOKING. They're guaranteed to stay fresh for at least 7 days or your money back. You control the delivery date. You get more bloom for your buck. Big, beautiful flowers, more stems, long-lasting freshness at proflowers.com. Code SMOKING at checkout gets you 20% off. That is nice. Last but not least, it's Harry's Razors. I just brought my Harry's Razors all the way across the world to Europe. Unknown mirror and shower shaving situation. When you're shaving your head, the situation is important. Can you see the mirror from the shower or not? I had to shave my head blind. Literally, did a full head and face shave in the shower in a hotel in Switzerland. No mirror whatsoever. And even though Harry's blades have 5 cartridges, no cuts. It was nice. Afterwards, Harry's moisturizer kept my skin looking good, not greasy, not breaking out from shaving every day. Harry's is the best. I love these blades. These blades are the top brand quality blades, just like you find at the drugstore, but it's half the price because they cut out the retail middleman and get you these blades over the internet, right? They make them themselves. It's not some private label deal. Harry's makes their own blades, and that's why over 3 million guys have switched to Harry's. I was not so much of a believer in the beginning. In the beginning, I was maybe going through the motions and just reading these ads, but I've spent now 2 years using these blades, and I truthfully am never going back. I got a year worth of blades. I pay for them. They're so cheap that I don't ask for them for free from Harry's. That's how affordable they are. They're so cheap that even though I could probably get all the free blades I ever needed, I just bought them because it was easier. $60 for a whole year of blades. Get your free trial offer. Here's what I'm going to do for you. $13 value for free
when you sign up at harrys.com. The free trial set includes a weighted ergonomic razor handle, a cartridge with 5 precision engineered blades, rich lathering shave gel, a travel blade cover. harrys.com/tire. harrys.com/tire. I got it for you right now. And let's return to the show with my interview with film director Roger Donaldson.
Okay, it is my distinct pleasure on the Smoking Tire today to have a discussion about the legend, Bruce McLaren, with Mr. Roger Donaldson, the director of the new documentary McLaren, which is out now. Is it out now
It
yet?
is out, yeah.
Just came out.
Just
Welcome
came
to
out.
the studio, sir. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks very much.
It's my pleasure to speak with anyone about McLarens, because I love the cars.
No, they're quite an awesome car.
And they sent me a screener, so I have
good.
seen the film. I watched it the other night with my girlfriend. It is quite good. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's start from the beginning, because you sound like a Kiwi or an Aussie. Are you an Aussie or a Kiwi?
I'm both.
You're both.
I know that sounds a bit of a stretch, but I was born in Australia. I went to New Zealand when I was 19, lived there for a long time.
Okay.
Started making movies there, and now I live here.
So what do you call home? L.A.? Is L.A. your
LA
home
is
right
home,
now?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
L.A. is home for me too. I grew up in New York, and as you've made this documentary about Bruce McLaren, and he's an interesting character. He's a very dynamic man, and obviously the name on which the company the company is founded. And so I want to know, did you approach it as a fan of the cars, as a fan of the racing, the Formula One, or as a Kiwi or national pride? Where did you come from?
Well, I think it's probably true to say all of those fronts. I mean, first of all, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm interested in anything that's sort of got a little bit of an angle to it. I haven't made any documentaries for many years, and I've been making feature films, and so this was something different. I've always been interested in automobiles, cars, fast cars. And McLaren, because of my connection with New Zealand, I was aware that people really did not seem to know that McLaren was, started off in New Zealand.
It's associated with England, I think.
Yeah, well, of course, that's where he started his real career. And that the logo on the McLaren is, in fact, a stylized Kiwi, the national bird of New Zealand.
It's not anymore. Now it looks
depends
like,
if you're in New Zealand or
now
not.
it looks like a cellular organism of some kind. Let's hang
have
on
a look
second.
at it.
McLaren logo. I'm sorry, we don't have a producer today, so I'm in charge of all things Google. Okay, so here we go. Here is
that if you're from New Zealand is a stylized Kiwi.
So this is a stylized Kiwi.
Yep.
That right? How is that a stylized Kiwi?
Well, you got to look at the Kiwi bird to sort of get the impression of it. But the left-hand side at the top is the beak, and the bottom is the feet, and it's sort of got a shape quite like that.
Got to tell you, Roger, I'm not buying it. I love New Zealand and I love Kiwis, but I'm not buying that.
Well,
the original logo was really a Kiwi.
Yeah.
The original
and
logo.
That's how it started out, and that's how it got modified to that.
I'm looking up the original logo, which really was like here it is, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Oh, that's not a good. I picked the wrong image. It was too small.
And there were a number of other stylized. The guy that designed that logo, he did a number of stylized Kiwis, and you could see the evolution from that to
I really like this logo. I think this is a cool classic
well,
logo.
It is a car. It is an amazing logo. That one.
Yeah, and in fact, I really like at the top part of this logo, this sort of head-on look of the
Cooper.
Was that a Cooper?
The cars of that time. I mean, the first McLaren was in fact a Cooper.
Yeah, he sort of like Enzo Ferrari started by kind of running with Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Bruce McLaren started by racing Coopers.
Yep.
So you're a racing fan.
I am. I saw Bruce race when I was a boy. My dad was crazy about car racing, and I remember going to Sandown Park outside Melbourne and seeing Bruce race against Jack Brabham. So I saw him race. Then in the early 1980s, I made a movie called Smash Palace. That was about a race car driver.
I'm sorry to admit that I've not heard of this movie. Can I still find it? Can I?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a classic. You know, that's how I got to be here. In fact, the movie went down well with the American critics at the time. Roger Ebert put it on his 10 best list for the year, and
Smash Palace.
Smash Palace.
I have to see. I have to see what Smash Palace is about. Here we go. 1982.
Yeah.
IMDb.
Yeah.
Wait, where are we at? Here we go. Sorry. Trying to do a couple things at once. There.
Yeah.
Here's our IMDb for Smash Palace. 7.2 out of 10, Roger.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad
No
after all these years.
No, and anyway, Steve Mellon, who I'm
love
sure you
Steve
know
Mellon.
Steve.
Yeah,
well,
he's a
Steve's a
great
good friend of
gentleman.
mine, and in that movie, he drives the race car in the movie, and that's sort of I met him doing car commercials in New Zealand. But
He drives the race car for stunt sequences. He's not the actor.
well, no, he's not the actor, but
Okay.
in fact, the movie's about New Zealand Grand Prix series
Oh.
at the time,
Oh,
and we sponsored Steve's car in the series, and he won the series, thank God, because that was the sort
really
of
helps
gist
sell
of
the
the
movie, doesn't it?
But so when I was making Smash Palace, I needed a car for the movie that looked like sort of, I wanted a still photograph of somebody against something, quite exotic, because of the story of this was about was about a European race car driver who comes back home to try and settle down, and Bruce McLaren's father lent me the G6 GT, the first road car.
The first McLaren.
The very
road car.
first McLaren, of which there was only one copy, is in my movie Smash Palace, lent to
so
me by
cool.
Bruce's father.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
And Bruce's father had was it Pop?
Yeah,
McLaren,
yeah, yeah.
right? He was just kind of a local mechanic and
well, he had
almost
more than a mechanic. I mean, he was he'd had garages in Remuera in Auckland and Teata too.
apologize.
And he had a big connection to the car racing scene in New Zealand at the time.
Well, what I love, I've been to New Zealand.
Yep, oh, good.
I as a car guy, I firmly believe in a pilgrimage to New Zealand. It's the motorsport.
They are
there
pretty
is
crazy
so-
about their cars there.
It's so crazy.
They really are.
And the government and the way the country is set up seems to be pretty car friendly in
Yes.
general. They're
Yeah.
friendly towards tuners and racers and
Yeah.
stuff. They allow hill climbs and street sprints.
Yeah,
There's a lot of amateur motorsport down there.
There is.
Frankly, I'm surprised we don't get. I mean, other than the Millens and a McLaren, there's not a lot of, at least in modern times, a lot of really famous. Mad Mike Widdett is a Pikes Peak guy and a drifter, but that's not a lot of New Zealand racing drivers these days.
Well,
At least
the
coming out
guys
in
the guys that won Le Mans this year and last year in the Porsche were New Zealanders.
who is it?
God, you'd have to.
Oh, now we gotta look. Porsche 919, right?
Scott Dixon's a New Zealander.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I don't think about him.
So
as
I
being
think
a New
you should
Zealander.
take those words
I think
back.
I need. All right, I rescind. I rescind. I 100% rescind. Le Mans winning team. I want to find out who is driving this car.
In the Porsche.
And for Porsche, they won. Who's driving it? Oh, come on. Come on. Where is it?
If it wasn't this year, it was definitely the last year. I know they won.
All I want is the driver's list. Come on. All right, well, we'll come back. Oh,
Okay.
winners. List of Le Mans winners. Here we go. Timo Bernhard, Brandon Hartley. Oh, yeah, Earl Bamber. Brandon Hartley and Earl Bamber. Timo's a German. But the other two have Kiwis.
Right.
Next to their have a
Yep.
flags. Okay,
So
I stand.
you take that back.
Mr. Donaldson, I apologize to you, sir.
And then, of course, in the V8 stuff racing in Australia, there's a
True.
lot of New Zealanders in that
In a
series.
V8 supercar.
Yeah.
I wish they would bring some of that here.
That's pretty exciting stuff.
And it's got what road course guys loves, and even like a NASCAR guy could get behind.
If you can ever get to the Bathurst, I think it's called the Bathurst
Yeah,
1000,
that's the one.
you
right?
never see better car racing.
It's like a pack for
Insane.
1,000 miles. It's
All right.
craziness. And that track is one of the best circuits. in the
No,
world.
I went there as a kid the first time, and it was called the Bathurst 500 when it was miles,
And
not
they said,
kilometers.
you know what? It was just switched from miles to kilometers.
Yeah.
Made slightly longer.
They made it a bit longer, but there's some awesome, dropaways, with the road. The cars just get airborne as they come over some hills, and
I haven't been, but a friend of mine was there and said that those downhill S's make the corkscrew at
And
Lime
then there's a
Rock
big
seem like
downhill, straight that the cars cracking 200 down it.
just craziness. So you're a racing fan. You're definitely a racing fan.
I've had my flash cars. I had a Ferrari.
Did you?
I had a 308, one of the very early 308s, the fiberglass ones, of which
Ooh.
I think they only made about 50.
They are very rare.
I
and
had
they are
a
worth big dollars today.
DB4 Aston Martin.
Oh.
That was, they only made 350 of those, I think.
Yeah, a man of taste. What about now? What are you driving these days?
The last car that I was sort of proud to own was a WRX STI.
Oh, okay.
So
You're a bit of
I've tried them all.
Bit of a hooligan.
A couple of Porsches.
Now you live in Los Angeles. Is it Tesla or Prius for you?
No. Right now, I had a 5 Series, the M5 Series, but a diesel. But
Oh, the M550D or whatever it was.
well, yeah, it was a
Or
lovely car to
530D?
drive. It just
It's to get around.
yeah. It's good.
Listen,
I'd take it out to Willow Springs now and then and have a strop with my mates in it.
I've given up in LA. I have a car for the weekends and the canyons and the track, and then I have a whole other car for sitting
Yeah.
in traffic.
No,
given
I know
up
it's
trying
two
to
different
drive
sorts of driving.
the fun cars. New Zealand, because I road trip New Zealand. Getting from place to place in New Zealand is like a joyous occasion. Some of the best roads in the world down there.
Driving through the South Island of New Zealand is as good as it gets.
It's there. There is truly no. I'm just gonna Google South Island, New Zealand road trip, and just see what kind of Google images come up of South Island, New Zealand road trip. Which
Yep, through the high country, up through central Otago and
this loop right here that can be seen in this Google search is a must do.
must do.
Absolutely,
I've done it many times.
That's like a popular vacation, pretty much.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of I'll do anything for a road trip, but
Right here, this is like a standard issue view.
exactly.
Like
It's pretty
you
good.
come around every corner, and that's what you're seeing in the
See,
South
around
Island.
the edge of Lake Wakatipu, I think that is.
It's just amazing. It's every ecosystem you can imagine.
It's an amazing country.
I love it. So back to how New Zealand breeds motorsport. It started, because they couldn't get parts. They had to learn to make
Yeah, I
their
really
own
think that's
stuff.
where it started. Back in the 50s and earlier, the New Zealand was a fairly, wasn't exactly a wealthy country. There were severe restrictions on foreign currency transactions, so people couldn't get cars in from overseas, and they had to fix things. So there was this sort of number 8 wire mentality, is how it's described down there.
Yeah,
of where
what's the phrase?
well,
about
the
it?
number 8 wire. You fix it with number 8 wire.
Here we have duct tape.
Exactly. So the idea was that you had to be able to fix anything, and they did. And there's a lot of very talented, innovative engineers down there that have done a lot of interesting things over the years.
Who is the Britain? John Britton?
John Britton.
The motorcycle guy?
Yeah,
That
he is.
story is unreal.
Yeah.
Well,
one of the guys that I made a movie about, Burt Munro on the world's fastest Indian.
I'm sorry. Did you make the world's fastest?
Yeah.
Indian? Holy shit! I didn't realize that. I should have done more homework, and now I'm embarrassed.
All right, okay.
But that movie is awesome. I've
Thank you
seen
very
it
much.
many times.
Oh, good.
I'm a huge fan of the movie, and of Burt Munro in general.
Oh, good. And I was just out of Bonneville 2 weekends ago watching the Indian Motorcycle Company. They'd built a tribute bike to Burt.
Was it
And
his
they were
son
running.
or grandson? Right?
Well, a relation. I mean, I'm not exactly sure of what Lee Munro's connection to his Burt was, but it's some direct connection.
It was a motorcycle of some kind. So, a relation.
And then, of course, the John Britton bikes. The Britton bikes were built by the guy that built my replica Indian. So
this guy John Britton was a legend.
a legend.
He
I think he only built 10 bikes.
Maybe not even. Maybe
I
it was
think one-
7 or 10.
I think there's 10, and I think one recently sold for around $1 million.
So he built his own. Look at the header on that bike, by the
I mean,
way.
that was an incredible bike for its time.
And he built this thing himself.
Yep.
I think he cast his own engine,
No. He was
he
a
running?
very, very talented engineer.
and he went to Europe.
went to
and
Europe.
Won.
I think. I think the Daytona 200 and races like that.
And then he got sick. Was it cancer at a
But he
very
died of
young
cancer
age and
at,
passed
I think
away?
mid-40s.
Yeah, very young. And it's so sad. But there's a museum now, I believe, in New Zealand for him. But this guy and Burt Munro, pretty much that's what New Zealand is about.
Yeah.
Just make it work, get it done. And that goes on today. I went to New Zealand and I hung out with these car clubs. The Hutt Valley Motorsport Club I hung out with. You know those guys?
I don't know those guys specifically, but I do know what's going on with down in Invercargill at the bottom there. You know, now they have a couple of weekends, devoted to bike racing
On the beach.
and on through the streets and hill climbs and stuff like that as a result of the movie I made.
That's so cool. That must feel great.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely everyone who I hear where the word Invercargill comes up, they think the world's fastest Indian.
That's right,
You created that.
we put that place on the map.
You really did, and now it's on. Now it's like a destination.
No,
right?
no,
Now it's-
absolutely.
Now people go there, and it's like
I believe
extreme
Time
sports
magazine
and stuff.
said it was one of the must-do things in your bucket list.
And you can see Southern Lights there too, can't you?
It's a long way south.
Yeah.
Yep.
The guys in the Hutt Valley Motorsport Club, it was so interesting because, there's a dozen of them, right? And
Yeah.
each one has a specialty. So one guy can cast manifolds, and one guy can lay carbon fiber, and one guy does ECU tuning, and one guy can do alignments, and they all just pass their cars around to each other.
Yeah.
And they all work on their cars like that, and they make everything. It's amazing.
No, there's a lot of very passionate people in the motor business down there. I mean, Rod Millen, he has his Leadfoot Festival.
I
every
went.
year.
It was incredible.
Oh, well, I've never been,
incredible.
but I know Rod well.
Absolutely.
And, that's something that really is bring people back to New Zealand to, experience some of the driving fun to be had down there.
So the Leadfoot Festival is a hill climb that's sort of like a mini Goodwood. And it's literally in Rod Millen's. Join our newsletter. It's literally in Rod Millen's driveway.
Yeah, he's got a farm.
He's got this farm with, I think, a 1.2 kilometer driveway. And he invites people out, and it's the mellowest vibe. It's like a Goodwood that no one's ever heard of. And look, you can get married. You could get married at his ranch while you're down there. And here's his. Come on, internet. Here's his. Look at this. They do drifting up the hill.
You can leave some rubber on the road.
They do drifting. They run like off-road trucks, and it's so cool. And it is the chillest vibe you can imagine. They'll let you fly a drone right over the course. They don't care.
Wow.
It's great. It was so good. I love New Zealand motorsport.
No,
I would do a year back there.
No.
Easy.
It's good cars are appreciated down there.
100%. So back to the movie. Other than all of these things throughout your life that make you want to bring out the New Zealand motorsport mentality, what are some of the things that made Bruce McLaren special?
Well, I think what made him special from the very beginning was that he was obviously quite an extraordinary young guy. As a boy, he was struck down with a disease called Perthes disease, where he was invalided for 2 years. He was in the Wilson Home for Crippled Children in Auckland.
They actually called it that.
That's exactly what it was
There was not a
called.
lot of political correctness.
No, well, those words have sort of changed, but that's what it was called, the Wilson Home for Crippled Children. And Bruce was strapped to a gurney, I guess it was, for a couple of years, trying to make sure that he didn't become unable to walk. Things like his dad would got a pickup truck and would put him on the back of the pickup truck and take him out to the beach for a trip to the beach out to Muriwai Beach.
Well, this is I don't know who this woman is, but is that a member of the family here? This seems like
Amanda.
It could be
his
Amanda.
car. That was his first race car.
Which is an Austin 7, I
Austin
think.
7, yeah.
And then this is actually at the MTC, the McLaren Technical Center.
The original car is there now at the McLaren headquarters.
I saw it there when I went. It was extremely cool to see. And then there's a video of Bruce wailing the thing around.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So it's weird. The whole movie. What did he die at? 35?
32.
32. He was a kid when he died.
No. So so at a very early age, like 15, he was racing. He would race against his father, and then he became, his father was also a pretty good driver too. But pretty quickly, Bruce was faster than his dad, so his dad would let him drive the car in, these hill climbs and whatever. And then they upgraded to, they got themselves an Austin Healey, I believe. And then they got, what was it, a Cooper sports car.
Yeah, it was like an
that
open wheeler.
Yeah,
Open wheel.
no, not an open wheel. It was a closed-in one that they bought off Jack Brabham. When Jack Brabham would come over to New Zealand, he would stay with the McLarens.
Oh yeah, because he was storing cars with
Yes.
them, right? Yes.
And in my movie, there's some pictures of Bruce driving that Cooper in Hill Climbs.
Looking for pictures right now. I'm trying to do two things at once.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do. Wait, where's the closed wheel car? Here's a lot of open wheel Coopers.
Yeah, no, it was a closed one.
Well, this? No, that's like a.
Let me see.
That looks like a Jaguar D-Type.
Yeah, it looked a bit like a Jaguar.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the sort of car it was.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we're gonna go with that. Here we go.
I think that might be.
That could be it. It's a very pretty looking car.
Yeah,
Single seater in the middle.
Yeah.
Very cool looking car. I'd race that. That looks
No.
awesome.
And Bruce was doing very well. Anyway, Jack Brabham sort of initiated with the New Zealand Car Club, I guess they probably were, a Driver to Europe scheme. And there were 3 young guys who were up for this award. One of them was Bruce, and Phil Kerr was the other one, who was a very good friend of Bruce's. Who was in my film, interviewed and became really part of Bruce's life forever. Anyway, Bruce won the Driver to Europe
Award, whatever it was.
wherever
Yeah.
it was. Off he went to Europe. His best friend, Colin Beanland, his parents said, "Hey, you better take Colin with you to keep an eye on you." And these two
Yeah, he
guys,
took him as a mechanic. He didn't
they
know how to work on
never
cars.
worked on cars really. He worked in his dad's, parts warehouse.
He's really good at ordering parts, though.
They went off to London together. They flatted together, just around the corner from the Cooper car factory, and
They started racing these open wheel guys, which looked like from your film.
yeah. So first
this one.
off, he started driving. That's Formula 2 cars.
That's a great
And
picture.
he
Monaco?
It looks a bit like Monaco, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. I think that might be a Formula 1 car though.
It could be engine. I don't know.
Anyway,
He
he
started
went
in
off.
Formula 2.
So his first big race as a Formula 2 driver was at the Nürburgring when it was the long track, and I think it was a very tough race. I think there was a Ferrari driver killed in the race, Peter Collins, I believe it was.
I remember someone was killed. I do not recall the name.
But anyway, he moved up through the ranks and won the Formula 2 part of the race and beaten quite a few of the Formula 1 drivers in the same race. So from the success of that very demanding race, Bruce was on his way to a big career.
So, at what point would you say you put him more as a constructor first or a driver first?
Well,
as an engineer.
his passion at the beginning was engineering as well as driving. He was damn good at both. And when he teamed up with Jack Brabham, he was second driver to Jack Brabham at Cooper's. Both of those guys were very talented engineers, as well as expert drivers, and together they were a formidable couple. And in the heydays of the Cooper car company in Formula 1, they really did dominate.
Did for those not quite as nerdy as the two of us, Cooper, there were a lot of Cooper was a Formula 1 constructor, now defunct, but the name kind of lives on in the John Cooper Works minis.
Right,
John
Cooper minis. That's where it all came from.
Yeah, it all came. That
Mini
all was
Cooper,
related
yeah.
to the Cooper Formula 1 cars.
I remember my sister at about 1960. She bought herself a Mini Cooper. It was the first time I'd ever been over 100 miles an hour with my sister driving us out the main road outside Ballarat where we lived.
Those minis, they'll get you in trouble. There's certain cars that, it doesn't matter if it's a fast car, if it's a slow car, but when you get in it, you have no choice but to go as fast as they will go.
Those Mini Coopers were pretty dramatic.
I bought a John Cooper Works Mini in 2006, one of the modern ones, supercharged one, and I got a ticket on the way home from the dealership going, I shit you not, 90. I was going 96 and a 50 on the way, like 10 miles from the dealer. On the
you didn't plead sort of like just
yeah.
compassion.
And unfortunately, if I'm honest, I don't think many have really done the John Cooper Works name a whole lot of justice with their current crop of John Cooper Works vehicles.
Well, of course, the first
actually
ones were so
perform.
iconic and so
Yeah.
revolutionary. I mean, that sideways engine, the size of the cars, the speed of them, the handling, they were such a dramatic change in car design
Yeah.
when they came out, and it's hard to keep up with that sort of innovation.
You're right. It is. But even when the first modern ones came out, they were ridiculously fun, and I think they fell a little bit downhill ever since then. Here's a good one for you. Here's a good classic.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here's a good here's
That's
you and your
that's
sister.
me and my sister.
This is you and your sister right here.
Yep.
You going, where's the door handle, and your
Exactly,
sister
God.
smiling and going,
My
yes,
sister's
I am a
always-
rally driver.
Yeah, my sister's always been a lead foot, but she
Yeah.
loved that car.
That's great. God, it was such a cops. Every once in a while, there's
After some poor guy.
every once in a while there's a drive-by or something out here. It's Inglewood,
True.
There was a drive-by over
Oh,
there,
my God.
really, a couple of years ago. Yeah, but
wow.
it sorted itself out. It was five. It was five in the door like this. That
Wow.
whatever that guy did, he had it coming because the guy who came for him didn't miss.
Wow.
Can we talk about World's Fastest Indian for a minute?
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
haven't seen the film in probably a year, but I want to go back to it because, oh my God, Anthony Hopkins playing one of your country's national
Yeah,
icons.
yeah.
That's got to be something really special.
No, Tony and I go way back. We did a movie called The Bounty, Mel Gibson,
Oh,
Tony
yeah.
Hopkins.
Yeah.
Back was the first movie I made when I came over here, actually.
Really was the bounty?
Yeah.
So you had a rapport, as it were,
Yes.
when you went to do.
So,
World's Fastest Indian.
we'd, in fact, if we went back to when we did The Bounty, we vowed we would never work together again. It was such a tough movie to make. It was like, we don't want to do that again. And then over the years wore by, the sort of became like our war stories.
Yeah.
And we became good friends. And together, we did The World's Fastest Indian.
He played that character amazing.
He did a great job because
great job.
I made a documentary called Offerings to the God of Speed back in 1971. I came to Bonneville with the real Bert.
Uh-huh.
And that documentary, Tony used it for when he was, like brushing up on his Bert accent, because Bert had a very particular sort of English, a strange Scottish sort of twist to his accent, as well as a little bit of American from his trips over here.
Because Burt Monroe actually came to America many times.
Yeah.
He wasn't. I feel like in the film he almost comes off as like a bumpkin, but he's not. He's like a genius.
Well, he had this sort of naive streak where the word no wasn't in his vocabulary. He would roll up anywhere. He would chat up any lady who would stop to talk to him. He would, and he had this sort of uncanny, instinct about about how to build stuff and what could make things go faster and aerodynamics, and he was an interesting guy.
Well,
but
for
he did live
those who have never heard, Burt Monroe was a very famous New Zealand land speed record holder on motorcycles.
Yep.
And he was riding a very old Indian motorcycle that he had modified himself to an insane degree.
He'd bought it new in 1919, I think.
Yeah.
And it was the same bike. I actually did a book about him.
And he was setting records in like the 60s.
Oh, no, he was setting records from the day he bought this bike.
Really? Before?
Well, hill climbs. And
Well,
he
no,
would
what
strip it-
period? What the movie is?
Well,
What
the movie's from the 60s.
It's from the 60s,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
the bike is 40 years old by the
Yes.
time he's
Yeah,
setting.
yeah.
And he's got records that still stand.
The fastest he ever went is still a record in the record book.
It's still a
at
record,
Bonneville,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which was two?
It's 180 something, 87 or something in two directions.
In what cc bike? In some
Under 1,000
under a
cc
very small
with
motor.
standard fuel.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The fact
It's
that
a
he was
pretty
able
awesome
to,
thing. And if you see the bike, if you go online, you can probably see it.
I can pull that up. I forgot I had two jobs today. Yeah,
It's two jobs. In fact, we had the replica bike out at Bonneville the other day.
Here's. I'm trying. Now I have to sort where the real Burt Monroe is versus. Here's one with a
that green one,
cutaway.
See that?
This
See that bike? See him standing there?
Here?
That one in the green
Here?
trousers. Green.
trousers.
Yeah,
there we go.
okay.
Oh, so here's the bike naked.
That's
Okay,
that's
cool.
him at the bottom. That's him at
God
bottom.
damn, Anthony Hopkins looks
he had a
just like him.
No, he does. And,
It's amazing.
and he had a fiberglass shell that went over the.
Yeah, the
the
shell
bike.
looked kind of like a torpedo, and
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna take this here. I'm just gonna go here. Is this? I can't even tell if this is Anthony.
Well,
Hopkins.
that's Tony Hopkins.
That's Hopkins.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's basically what the bike looked like, with this torpedo thing over it.
Yeah.
And where are we here? And that's what it looked like underneath.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it still had a leaf spring out the front. You can see that rigid rear end.
Oh, this thing must have been brutal to
lay on
ride.
it.
It must have been absolutely brutal to ride. And he refused to wear proper fire
Well,
gear.
I mean, that was after they'd got him some some leathers, but he literally rode in his suit pants.
His wool
he
suit
had
pants.
tucked into his socks, and he wore sneakers, because he.
It's amazing. He said, if
and-
it's good, the line in the movie, I think, is if it's good enough for me to get married in, it's good enough to ride my bike in.
Those are the sort of words that Burt would have said.
Was in the movie anyway. Burt Monroe. Here's a great Tony Hopkins. We'll go back to him for a second. In the movie, Burt Monroe comes off as like just kind of stubborn but instantly likable by
Yeah, I
every
think
single person he
That's
meets.
the sort of charm that the real guy had. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of Kiwis are like that. I feel like a lot of
Well,
Kiwis
I think
are
they, it's a small country, and they're proud of their country, and yet they're sort of. Most people in New Zealand have been overseas, so they're not. It's not too parochial for the size of the place and its isolation. It's a long way from anywhere, so they're people don't feel threatened by Kiwis. I think they I know when I came over here, everybody was incredibly welcoming to me.
I just think they come off so friendly. They're just the friendliest people. When you were making excuse me, I just inhaled water. Excuse me. When you're doing the Bonneville scenes in World's Fastest Indian, do you go and call up the old school Bonneville friends and have them come out and say we need some?
That's
some
how we did
scenery?
it. I mean, that's how I got sort of into the Bonneville. Knowing all about Bonneville was
From the first movie,
from
in the 70s, right?
Well, I met people in the 70s, and then when I was doing the feature film, there were a lot of people who were very helpful to me. Like the Danny Thompson and his dad's Challenger and things like that we got out there on the salt. In fact, I saw Danny run the other day with his Challenger 2 at Bonneville.
Oh, really?
He did, I think, 440 or something.
These guys are out of their minds.
Man,
Man.
that
That's
was
unbelievable.
fast.
It's unbelievable. Do you ever go out to El Mirage as well?
You know what? I've never been there. I can't
That's
believe
fun.
No, I've got to go.
El Mirage is great for two reasons. One is if you've got your own car, on an off day, you pay $15 to get in. You go as fast as you want.
Oh, really? I never knew that.
It's brilliant.
Yep.
At 3.2 miles, I had 187 in a Porsche Panamera Turbo.
Oh, wow.
S. And yeah, pay $15, no problem.
How fast? 100 and...
187 miles an hour.
Oh.
It was good. Car gets real dusty.
I know. I was going to say, it's like a bit of somebody else's.
Yeah, no, it was a press car, yeah. And then we went to watch the races once, and
Yeah.
we watched 4 or 5 hours of racing. And when I tell you about this storm, like a dust storm rolled in,
no.
and it was like a wall, just one of those walls of sand that came across and just wrecked everything and sent everyone packing and running. It was wild.
yeah.
But what's crazy is that there's guys, there's like vintage at El Mirage, and I'm
Yep.
sure at Bonneville.
Yeah.
And they
A
go
lot
out in
of-
these belly tanker things.
No, I mean, I've been going to Bonneville since 71, so there's still vehicles that were there in 71 still out there on the salt.
They're still running.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still running with, period engines like
No.
this. This is a picture. This picture is taken very recently. That's a modern truck right there.
Yep.
And let's assume that was made in 1952.
I think that was like these belly tanker
Yeah.
speedsters, that
That was-
in fact,
that was a
I don't know
fuel
if
tank from,
1950
like-
I don't know if 1952 is
I
its
don't know if
number
that was
or
the
if
year,
it's year.
but
But they
that's-
made them out of the fuel tanks of planes, I think.
Yeah, the drop tanks.
Yeah.
Here's one. This one's great. This is like a SoCal Speed Shop
Yeah.
livery with an old 50s truck doing a push start. I like that. That's great. So you go to Bonneville with the real Burt Monroe. Then you go back with the pretend Burt Munro,
Yep.
the Oscar-winning pretend
And
Burt
recreate-
Munro,
and recreate-
recreate the
So-
real thing.
Yeah.
So are there exact recreated scenes, or is the whole thing, dramatized a bit?
Well, I was trying to recreate what I saw when I went there in '71, but also, like in the movie, he goes so fast and he crashes the bike and his glasses get blown off. All of those things really happened to him, but they didn't all happen on the same run.
Oh, okay. So you combined that a couple things into one thing. That's it's just to be able to witness that kind of stuff in person, though.
No, it was fun.
Spectacular.
No.
Did it see? I mean, the movie obviously makes when you add a soundtrack and you add editing, it makes the moment feel incredibly special and climactic. Did it feel like you were doing something special when you're there?
No, it did.
With him?
It definitely did. And things like the bike that crashes. It was a really quite a dangerous stunt to pull off. And in fact, the guy did hurt himself doing the stunt, broke his collarbone.
Oh, did he really?
So it wasn't without its dramas. We had a helicopter crash while we were shooting it. At miracle that nobody was killed. It flew into some power lines, chasing.
No way.
Just
chasing the road car.
Chasing the road car up the road.
Just driving the '50s car, pulling a trailer. Even like a fairly mundane day at the.
I know.
When
So
you got helicopters.
I know.
That's crazy. I always like the Burt Munro trailer fix in the movie with the log.
That's a true story.
The log.
That's a true story.
I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can find an image of this Burt.
Well, that's the sort of guy he was. That's.
I don't know if I can find an image of Burt Munro's trailer repair. Oh wait, here is that? No, it's a stick. Where is this? It? No, it's the actual trailer.
Yeah.
I want to find it because a wheel falls off his trailer and he uses a log.
Replaces the wheel with a log.
Is this the actual trailer? That's his actual trailer.
Yeah.
That's sweet rig, Bert. That's a nice rig. But one of the wheels fell off and he just rigs a stick up and drives, I don't know,
a long
couple
way.
100 miles with a stick.
And every now and then he'd have to stop and feed a bit more stick out because it would wear
Like
off.
a pencil
and in
dragging
the movie
down
you can see the smoke off the stick is real.
Practical effects.
Yeah.
That's all, but that's a cool story of inspiration. So back to Bruce McLaren. What's the most important thing about Bruce McLaren that you wanted to get across in this film, you think?
Well, I think first of all, the McLaren car company lives on to this day and is making some incredible cars, and the name McLaren is started all with Bruce. Bruce was killed at Goodwood in 1970 at the age of 32. So he'd just come back from Indianapolis. They had their first attempt to run at Indianapolis. They had a disaster with one of the cars catching fire when the fuel tank popped open, and that sort of changed history for Bruce, really.
There's the Formula One angle, but then it really
he was doing
went into the Can-Ams.
The Can-Am was really where he really, really dominated.
And
here's
the famous McLaren Can-Am car, which
that's
that pretty?
The one they built after the one that crashed because it's got the new different
arrow or something.
The aerodynamic, the wing is different.
Huh. All right, let's see if maybe we can find another one.
If you see a car with number 5, that'll be probably it.
Here's number 5.
Denny Holmes' car.
Yeah, here's. What? Never mind.
It's pretty
sorry. Sorry.
Tiny.
Wah wah. The Can-Am stuff was nuts. It was basically an unlimited class, right?
It was a very spectacular sort of form of auto racing.
Yeah.
Popular here in America and Canada, in the US and Canada, and it was very competitive, and people, a lot of the European drivers, Surtees and Moss, and I don't know if Moss actually raced there, but he would come over for it. But Surtees, Mario Andretti, people like that, Moschenbacher.
Formula One drivers unlimited powertrains,
Yep.
1,000 horsepower, 800 horsepower, crazy engines, wedge shapes, early aerodynamics,
And go like stink.
sort of guesswork at aerodynamics.
Exactly.
But Can-Am is where we got cars like that, the sucker cars, the Chaparral
Yeah,
stuff.
all that stuff.
really
Dan Gurney,
strange looking.
Dan Gurney's car, and
Yeah.
all those. What was his name? Chaparral.
Yeah, Chaparral.
Those cars are awesome.
With the side skirts
Yeah,
and the sucker
yeah,
fans.
No,
and-
no,
yeah.
there were a lot of very innovative stuff was
Yeah,
happening.
they have rules now. You can't just run that kind of stuff.
That's right.
I guess you have to go to like Pikes Peak or somewhere with like an unlimited time attack kind of thing, is
Yeah.
where you'd find cars without rules.
Yeah, or the Leadfoot Festival.
I can't believe 32. I mean, he was like
32,
a
and,
team principal, like a constructor.
I mean, he was, what he did was sort of beyond. I mean, you would have thought he was 52 with what he managed to pull off.
I 100%, 100%.
And of course, his mates were devastated when he passed away. Quite a few of them had been with him since he was a teenager. I mean,
it must be these guys. You've seen, I imagine I imagine you've seen the documentary One, the number one.
I haven't seen it.
It is.
No, I
It
know-
is.
I know
It's
of it,
one
but
of
I
my
haven't seen it.
favorites. It's narrated by Michael Fassbender.
Yep.
And it's just one of those documentaries that it's got spectacular energy, really good. It's about safety, and all the drivers are in it, including Bruce McLaren.
Yep.
And they all speak like people who have lived so far beyond their actual years.
Well, one of the people that I interviewed for the movie was Jackie Stewart.
Oh, him,
And,
especially Jackie Stewart.
And I went to Jackie Stewart's home out in the country, and around the property, Jackie had, and I think that I've got the numbers right, 56 wooden benches, into the backs of which were carved the names of drivers that he'd raced against that had been killed while he was, driving with.
I think
driving
he
against them.
personally may have witnessed the most death.
And as a result of Bruce's demise, and another driver soon after, another Formula One driver, they had a drivers' sort of strike. Really, they all met at the Dorchester Hotel in London and had a drivers' meeting where they talked about whether they would compete at the Nürburgring unless they introduced some safety.
I
changes.
remember this. This is a famous story because none of them wanted to race, and Jackie Ickx broke it. Right? Isn't that one?
I'm not sure of that fact.
Is this? It's either the one where Jackie Ickx broke it, or it's the one where James Hunt and Niki Lauda were the James Hunt was the deciding vote.
They might
in
have, although
76, and then Niki crashed.
Oh no, this was earlier than that.
Earlier
This
than
was
that.
1970.
Oh, okay, so no, it was pre that.
So they did. I think they. I don't know if maybe the Nürburgring was out of the running from then on until they got it back in.
Maybe. The video from the 60s of them racing at the Nürburgring is so unbelievably sketchy.
No.
Um,
And of course,
and-
the cars would get airborne, and
They would just go in the woods. They would vanish into the woods.
it was a diabolically dangerous track because if you went off the road, you were in the trees.
I mean, look, this is legit. This is the Nürburgring in the 1960s, and that is a Formula One race.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just this is someone's cow fence.
It's not going to stop nothing.
That's crazy. You go off there, you are in the woods. I could spend.
But even where the spectators were able to stand in those days too, I remember standing at car race meetings where you'd never be allowed to stand now.
Look at that.
Wow.
Oh my God. Imagine one car hits this berm here.
Yeah.
You can't believe they did. They had zero foresight all back in the day. It's
They're big on imagination.
it didn't occur to anybody that could have become a problem. But all of them, Jackie and everyone who's Emerson Fittipaldi, who was in your film as well, they all really seem to have lived beyond their years.
Yes, I think they did.
It's amazing. Can you imagine if they didn't improve Formula One and motorsport, the safety?
Well, there'd be thousands that would have been dead by now,
They
would have banned it.
They would have banned it completely.
Yeah.
We're still finding the issue now. I mean, not so much with professional drivers and professional cars. I mean, definitely still happens.
Yeah.
People do still get killed racing, but with roll cages and stuff like that.
No, there's a lot more understanding
Hans
of what it
devices.
takes to stop, the impacts.
Well, we're starting to see a bit of, which I hope can be addressed, sooner rather than later, is
Yeah.
people
But
getting
Scott Dixon
injured.
had a lucky escape of that Indianapolis crash.
That was brutal. That was the where he got cheese grated in the fence.
my God,
Oh
yeah.
my God, was that bad? But they're walking away from stuff. Well,
know.
some of them are not. Dan Weldon had got killed,
Right.
and that was extremely sad after winning the But not to be a huge downer. But now what we're seeing is injuries at just kind of open lapping days, where if you people hitting walls in streetcars.
Oh, I know. People who are really not,
Novices in
you don't
street
have the cars built to really take a big shunt.
Yeah. Have you had a big crash?
Oh,
You were lucky.
I know.
But also, I don't know. I kind of feel like I got a couple out of the way when I was younger.
I got a near miss out of the way with a friend's car, and he flipped it on its side, but that was about it.
Yeah. Rolling is always.
And he
is
did
always a good
ultimately
one.
kill himself in his Mini
No way.
Mini Cooper. Yeah.
Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that. We put that you would be here on Facebook, and I got a few questions from fans, and I need to move this window over so I could see it. Okay, shall we?
Yeah, far away.
All right. What is your favorite current McLaren car, past or present? I'm sorry, I said current, but then it's favorite McLaren car, past or present, and what would be your perfect racetrack on which to drive it?
Well, I have driven a McLaren around Willow Springs, so I guess I've got a buddy who's got a 650.
650S?
Yeah.
Lovely car.
So Peter's been nice enough to let me thrash around in his car and leave some rubber on the road. So that would be probably as good as drivers I've had in a McLaren.
Bathurst. 650S at Bathurst.
And then I've driven the 570.
570S, yeah. The smaller one.
The GT.
Oh, the comfy one.
Yeah, that was a lovely
the glass
car.
roof?
Yeah, they let me one for a couple of days.
That's good, isn't it?
And I enjoy driving that.
Yeah. That's a great road car. I got to drive one. I did a lap of
I
Iceland.
did a little trip up to Santa Barbara and up through the mountains there.
Spectacular, right?
Yeah, it was fun to drive.
And that glass roof really...
It's a very comfortable car, and
Yeah.
of course a glass roof and good headroom and
Good stereo.
everything.
That hatch that gets the thing in. Yeah.
It's a good car.
It's a very good car. I'm a big fan
Great
of that.
car, I think, is probably a better
Great car.
description.
Yeah, great car qualifies.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the 720. I've not had to go in the new...
No, I hear that's spectacular.
Everyone says it's
Yeah.
nuts. I just saw my first one on the street. Have you ever had to go in any of the classic McLaren cars, race or street?
No, we
got to do that for you.
No, I haven't done that.
Really? After the movie, they got to hook it up.
I know.
It's amazing the things people do and still don't get seat time. Well, someone wants to know, why did it take so long for McLaren to begin building road cars?
Well, of course, he built the M8 GT back in 1969, I guess he started building it. And that was his, I really do believe that was his dream, was to build road cars. And then, of course, once he died, they really did concentrate on, trying to win Indianapolis and Formula One, and they were very successful with those efforts. And I guess it was the new ownership of McLaren that decided they were going to have to find a way to expand into automobile manufacturing if they were going to stay relevant. And Ron Dennis probably gets the credit for that.
I would say he does. Ron Dennis and maybe a little Gordon Murray in there.
Yeah.
The F1.
Yeah.
15.6, I think we just saw a McLaren F1 sell for at Pebble.
I mean, that original F1 was an awesome car.
My God.
Didn't they use a standard road car and won Le Mans with that?
Yeah, well, basically they took a road car and took the interior out and put in a roll cage, and they won.
That
they
car's
won Le
actually
Mans.
sitting in their showroom there at.
They won Le Mans, I believe, from the GT class. That was because that's a road car, so it was a GT class, and they beat all the prototypes, and then they came back with the long tail, which was classified as a prototype. Oh, that's a good story too.
It is a good story.
Have you been in one of those?
I've been in one, but that's about as close as I've come to moving it.
It's I had to go in one for like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the best 10 minutes of my life. It was amazing. That sitting in the middle thing, there's just nothing like it.
It's pretty awesome.
There's just nothing like it. So what's next?
God, who knows what's next?
No other New Zealand Kiwi record holders in motorsport to make
I've
the
done,
Rod Millen story.
no, well, I'd be, I'd have my mate Steve wouldn't be too happy about that.
Oh yeah, there was a rift in the Millen family.
I don't know about a rift, but they were always very competitive, and I know them both. And of course, Steve was an awesome, with these Nissan efforts, the prototypes. He did some
100%.
some spectacular wins.
100%. Was it IMSA GTP?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
GT prototype,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And also his Steve. I've driven some of his tuned road cars, which have been very good.
Yeah.
He the man knows how to drive a Nissan, and
Well, I can
make
tell you
one
also
go
knows
fast.
how to drive a Ferrari, because when I bought mine, I dropped around to show it to him, and Steve said, "Give me a drive in this thing," and I hopped into the passenger seat. Oh my God, I didn't know what a guy could do with a car until I've been in that one.
No, the whole Millen family really has motorsport.
And then the sons too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Reese Millen.
Yeah.
And then Steve's son Kyle is getting into
Yeah.
motorsport as well. I like Kyle a lot. Kyle's a great dude. Well, I look forward to whatever it is you come up with next.
Okay.
I did love The World's Fastest Indian.
Thank you.
And I like this documentary, McLaren, a lot. Where can people find it?
Well, it's downloadable at places like iTunes. I mean, I know yesterday I took a look on iTunes, and it was the number 2 documentary on download. So
Is it? Let's. Can we search?
yeah, if you search iTunes,
I'll do a.
and it's available through Amazon and a whole lot of other digital platforms.
It is. Where is it? Song,
Under documentaries?
artists, albums. Oh, I'm in music. Oh no.
It's music to your ears, but it's not music.
Movies. There it is.
The
Take it out.
documentaries.
Oh no. This is what happens when I don't have a producer.
Ah,
I gotta. All my things are slowed down. Everything is slowed down. So it's on iTunes. Where else?
iTunes. I believe it's on Amazon.
On Amazon as well. Okay, here we go. Now I can properly do your video plug. There it is on iTunes.
Okay, so
Getting, 4.5 out of stars and a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. Looking good so far.
Good.
I enjoyed it. I really did. Me and
Well,
my girl watched it last night, and it was
good.
great fun. Well, it's sad at the end. I hate to tell you.
it's a sad story. Yeah, but
He doesn't live.
but we knew that before we started. So.
It's a really interesting story into the beginnings of what is now quite a successful and well-known car company
Yeah.
that most people don't associate it with New Zealand, but they damn well should,
And they will.
and they
hopefully.
will. Thank you for coming in, Roger. I appreciate
Max,
your time.
thank you for having me.
I
It
look
was
forward to what you do next.
Pleasure to talk with you.
All right, see you soon.
Okay, mate.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.